Guzman Lopez and his brother face sweeping narcotics trafficking charges. Prosecutors told the judge yesterday that both sides were in preliminary discussions. Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard has apparently lost a battle to regain some control over village board meetings. Henyard asked the judge to invalidate decisions made at meetings not at City Hall and force trustees to hold meetings at the village hall. The trustees say the judge has sided with them and agreed their off-site meetings do not violate the Open Meetings Act. An Illinois state rep plans to tour prisons in Illinois, investigating how they're handling paper laced with drugs. State Representative Adam Niemerg says he's hearing about stories from prison staff about dangerous substances being smuggled into the state's prison system. It all started at the Lawrence Correctional Center.
They have iPads. Just make a copy of that correspondence, have that correspondence then go via iPad to the inmate, and it would solve this issue.
Niemerg plans to tour corrections facilities early next month. As you heard him say, the solution to the problem is clear. The Illinois Department of Corrections did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Suburban man is going to federal prison for trafficking fentanyl and attempted support of ISIS. Jason Brown was sentenced to 18 years behind bars after pleading guilty last year. The Blackhawks will try to get back in the win column when they host Vancouver at the UC tonight. Connor Bedard wants the puck to go in the net.
You need a lot of guys going to win, and we've had nights where each line has had their night, and I think everyone's been really consistent with creating chances, and that's what you can do. If you're creating chances, eventually they should go in, and I feel like we've done a good amount of that. So.
The Bulls continue practice for the regular season opener at New Orleans on Wednesday. Friday, the Bulls will be in Milwaukee. Saturday, the home opener against OKC. The Bears may be shorthanded in the secondary when they take on Washington this weekend. Head coach Matt Eberflus confirms safety Jaquan Brisker is still in concussion protocol. Cornerback Kyler Gordon dealing with a hamstring. Ravens and Cardinals notch wins on Monday Night Football. The Fighting Illini getting set for a big test Saturday, visiting number 1 Oregon. Head coach Brett Bielema has played number 1 ranked teams in the country a few times at Wisconsin and Arkansas. And Bielema says he's comfortable trying to spring the upset on the road.
Obviously, a chance to play the number 1 team in the country is always special. New Oregon going into this season was going to have a very good football team. However, it played out when we made this trip. We knew that it was going to be on the back end of a 4-week window here where we have 2 home games back-to-back with Purdue and Michigan.
Bielema also heaped praise on Oregon coach Dan Lanning, who beat number 4 Ohio State a couple of weeks ago. The news service of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. Brighten your home and make the rooms in your house look bigger and better with larger windows or patio doors. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your consultation today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Overhead Door, healthinsurancementors.com, and by Trinity School of Natural Health.
Dennis Prager here. Join me on an unforgettable cruise to the Caribbean this November. Imagine 9 days basking in the sun, surrounded by the stunning beauty of a tropical paradise. We'll cruise in the vibrant islands of Half Moon Cay, Curacao, Bonaire, Aruba, and more. We'll be joined by special guest Sean McDowell, and we'll both be sharing insights into current events in a way I hope energizes and challenges you. Secure your spot before spaces run out by calling 855-565-5519 or online at PragerCruise.com.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gave Alice, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
Dennis Prager here. Join me on an unforgettable cruise to the Caribbean this November. We'll cruise to the vibrant islands of Half Moon Cay, Curacao, Bonaire, Turks and Caicos, and much more. We'll be joined by special guest Sean McDowell, and we'll both be sharing insights into current events in a way I hope energizes and challenges you. Secure your spot before space runs out by calling 855-565-5519 or book online at pragercruise.com.
5:11. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Just a couple of trouble spots this morning. Stop and go traffic I-80 westbound between Hobart and I-55. And you've got eastbound and westbound on and off ramps at Richards in Joliet shut down starting this morning until the fall of 2026. Traffic is a service of Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Today, partly sunny, breezy, warm day. A shower can't be ruled out. Our high today, 75. Partly cloudy for tonight, low 56. Breezy tomorrow morning, cooler, some clouds and sun, the high 62. Partly sunny, nice day Thursday, the high 65. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
58 right now. Next news at 5:30. Chicago's Morning Answer starts next on AM 560, The Answer.
Attention, anyone with high blood pressure.
If you want to seriously control your blood pressure and not be a walking time bomb,
Order 120 Life today.
120 Life is an amazing blend of superfruit juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure. It's been endorsed by thousands of health professionals and doesn't have the side effects of medication.
With ingredients that have shown to naturally help control blood pressure, 120 Life could be the natural game changer in your life.
Try it for yourself, risk-free, with a 2-week trial pack.
Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
120 Life is so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks, they'll give you your money back if you're not satisfied.
Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. From pomegranates to cranberries, it's the delicious way to lower blood pressure.
Go to 120life.com now. Use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. Last week, rallygoers at a Wisconsin rally proclaimed Jesus is Lord. Vice President Kamala Harris responded,
"Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally."
Liberal Supreme Court Justice William O. Douglas once wrote, "We Americans are a religious people whose institutions presuppose a supreme being." Alexis de Tocqueville put it that religion is the first of our political institutions. Today, well over 2/3 of our country still identifies as Christian. Thank God. Curious then, one of the major two parties in America has fielded a candidate for president in Kamala Harris who is so very anti-Christian. Perhaps that's the Democratic Party now, given its efforts to suppress so much religious expression, to go after religious charities and public outreach. In the past week, Kamala Harris also deliberately shunned the Al Smith dinner while mailing in a video mocking Catholicism. It's all a new level of Judeo-Christian insult. We should all be watching and listening to and taking this anti-Christianity seriously. I'm Seth Leibson.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you...
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and tracking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever. Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So, jury selection in the Daniel Penny trial began last week. Don't forget about that trial. If you can't bring yourself to pay attention to the Madigan trial here, probably more relevant to what's happening in this country, in big blue city America, is the Daniel Penny trial. You remember he's the Marine who choked out a guy who was harassing passengers on a New York City subway. Not intending to hurt him or kill him, and but he ultimately died. He had help from other passengers as well. This is somebody who the assailant, that was bothering customers and acting bizarrely. Had a long history with local law enforcement, story that we've heard play out over and over again. So anyway, Alvin Bragg, remember that name?
Oh, yeah.
Alvin Bragg, in his infinite wisdom, moved forward with manslaughter charges against Daniel Penny, and so we're at that point where Daniel Penny is on trial for his life in a significant way. So it's just interesting, this post from a woman that went viral the other day. This man on a subway was repeatedly harassing a woman, being disgusting, invading her space. Tell me why me and other women around tried to intervene and tell him off, but all the young, fit guys around just stood silent and looked at the ground. This guy was a big dude, and yet we were moving around to try to create a physical barrier between him and her, and there were so many guys who were definitely stronger than any of us, just blanking, twiddling their thumbs, and acting like nothing was wrong.
Gee, I wonder why they did that.
Yeah, right. What could possibly explain that
happened, Dan?
reaction? Perhaps they read the newspapers that this woman doesn't read, and they recognize Daniel Penny's plight. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, and text line, that is.
And what they're debating is the chokehold that he used, which is so bizarre to me. Is that's what the defense is going to be talking about? You know, that he used it because of his military training, a lethal chokehold instead of a regular chokehold that you and I would do. I mean, Daniel Penny, he's a hero. He should be celebrated, but he's not. And now he's like public. You know, the Democrats want to make him public enemy number one.
Oh, I don't think they want to make him public enemy number one. I don't think they want a lot of attention on this trial. I think that this is just the approach they take to serving their constituents, their political constituents, not writ large their constituents. And so their political constituents, they identify by what? Identity. This was a white Marine, and the man who died was a black man. Black man with some mental health illness, and the family, spoke out, and it shouldn't have gone down that way. There was no need for this, and there was no need for that, even though they concede, the family of the deceased man, they concede his long history with mental illness and run-ins with the law. And, again, Daniel Penny or anybody else on that subway car, what are they supposed to do? First of all, they're not law enforcement, so they don't have any sort of particular protocol that they need to follow in terms of types of chokehold, other than they have to use force that is, one, defensive and proportionate to the threat. And I think anybody who's seen that video, and if you haven't by now, you should, would conclude that he and other passengers who aided him acted reasonably in the circumstance. Closed, confined quarters, no place to retreat, person acting erratically, reasonable suspicion of serious bodily, reasonable fear of bodily harm, and they acted to subdue him without intentionally trying to do anything more than restrain him. They didn't beat him up. They weren't kicking him. It was just restraint to hold him down until the train stopped and people could safely get off. But these are the sorts of prosecutions we see. It's no different. They're treating Daniel Penny no different than they would treat a police officer in the same circumstance. That's the attitude of the Soros-funded prosecutors. We should know the profile given the last 8 years of Kim Foxx, shouldn't we?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that same line. But he's charged with manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. And when he was walking into court, there were protesters outside accusing him of, being a white supremacist and chanting "murderer, murderer," and justice for Jordan Neely.
Right. So everybody lines up with their fellow travelers when it comes to identitarian politics. The underlying facts don't matter. And I'm talking about Bragg. Forget the nitwittery that's outside the courthouse of the random leftist protesters or what have you, agitators, professional agitators. I'm talking about Alvin Bragg. I'm talking about people who do this under the color of law. On May 1 of 2023, this guy boarded this guy who's now deceased boarded the F train, delivered what one witness described as, quote, an insanely threatening, quote unquote, insanely threatening rant. Said he was hungry, fed up, and ready to go jail, and, quote, someone is going to die today. Just remember, those sort of specifics are important because you have to make an assessment of whether Daniel Penny and others reacted reasonably in response to a perceived threat. And so the behavior and the words that the guy, his name is Neely, used are important here. And it's also important to remember the cops didn't arrest Daniel Penny.
Right. They interviewed him and released him on the day he died.
The day
Neely died, yes.
Right. Marvin, Burlington, Wisconsin.
Yeah, that strikes me as being almost the same situation as Officer was it Chauvin up there and George Floyd, except that he was a police officer. I mean, it's the same type of technical chokehold that you have to use to restrain a lunatic.
I think there's some distinguishing features between the Daniel Penny incident. Thanks for the call, Marvin, and George Floyd. Starting with the fact that the responsibility in the case of the officer is greater than the responsibility that Daniel Penny faced, because he's not a trained law enforcement officer. Even though he was a Marine, he's still not a trained law enforcement. He's not in uniform and charged with doing a job on behalf of taxpayers. It's different, and there are other particulars. I mean, the extension of time holding Floyd down with a knee on his back when he clearly was no longer threats. There are other. I mean, I don't want to relitigate the George Floyd thing, but it is there's real apples and oranges differences between those two cases, in my view. Craig in Mount Greenwood.
Hey, good morning, Dan Amy, and thank you much for taking my call. What a perfect example. There should be some type of, politicians, and there's supposed to be some type of, I forget what you call it, but where, when you're doing the right thing and you have the right intentions, that you can't be held responsible for trying to do the right thing. And he was a hero, really, someone that was a good Samaritan, stepping in to do something. And it's a perfect example of why people that would ordinarily step in and run in to help and do something would think twice. Because this guy that was the villain, he's part of the left. The left love this guy. He's like one of them. So they don't want him to take and die. And basically, the other side, that's the hero and the good Samaritan, they hate people like that. So attack that one, and it shows how our society and things going on are so messed up and backwards.
Thanks for the call, Craig. Yeah, there's definitely an issue. I mean, there's already this attitude of don't want to get involved, right? So there's already a sort of a disposition culturally against being a good Samaritan, and the Penny case obviously exacerbates that. That's not a good thing. I mean, think about we don't know all the details yet, but that kid from Elgin High School who was killed going to that rap concert over the weekend. Yeah. He and his girlfriend going to a concert, and 4 guys roll up on them. Somehow she gets away to call call for help, call his brother and so forth. But he gets shot multiple times. So they took phones and wallets. Him and 2 other guys who were also shot, but I believe are going to survive. And they shot him multiple times.
Why?
So they had what they wanted, and they executed him anyways, what it sounds like.
Well, it's, just for blanks and giggles. This is fun.
Maybe we don't know. Maybe he tried to fight back. We don't know those details, but they shot him multiple. But they shot him multiple times, and you just they parked blocks away from the United Center. They're walking to a concert that is I assume going to be well attended, in the tens of thousands of people, and 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 sort of, you just get this feeling that everybody's on their own, that nobody, I mean, other than if there was a police officer who happened to be present, it has your back in those situations. It's just more of the atomization of society, and the atomized society is the society that disintegrates. Dan in Salem, Wisconsin.
Hi, Dan and Amy. That Alvin Brad, in my view, I think he's a racist. And if that man was black that killed that guy accidentally killed him on the subway, was black, we would have never heard about this case.
I believe that.
Thanks for the call, Dan. Coming up at 5:38, open borders are just a manifestation of big hearts. 5:38.
They love too much, Dan. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
It's 5:31 on AM 560. The election 2 weeks away. Both candidates hitting the ground running this morning. Former President Trump visited North Carolina yesterday, where he's held afternoon rallies in Greenville after an hour earlier touring hurricane damage near Asheville. And the former president held an 11th hour faith leaders meeting in Concord, North Carolina.
It's time to stand up and save your country.
Meantime, Vice President Harris focused on Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. At an event in Michigan, the vice president warned of a second Trump term.
The Supreme Court essentially told the former president he will be immune from anything he does in office. So whereas before there was at least some threat of consequence and accountability, that no longer exists.
Most polls have Trump edging ahead in the coveted battleground states. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arriving in Israel this morning in another attempt to revive ceasefire talks.
This trip comes in the wake of Yahya Sinwar's death. He's the Hamas leader in Gaza killed by Israeli troops last week. Sinwar was blamed by some for the lack of a ceasefire and hostage release deal. Today, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is expected to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but hopes of a revived agreement are uncertain. It's not clear who's making decisions in Hamas or how keen Prime Minister Netanyahu is to strike a deal. Secretary Blinken will visit Arab countries in the next few days, talking to leaders about how Gaza should be governed once the war is finally over. Jonathan Savage, Fox News.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin visited Ukraine Monday as Russia continues gaining ground in the war-torn country. The NTSB says the helicopter that crashed into a Houston radio tower Sunday night was on an air tour flight when the accident occurred. Demonstrations at the University of Minnesota in St. Paul Monday are what led to nearly a dozen arrests involving pro-Palestinian protesters. Opening statements resuming today in the racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Democrat Michael Madigan and Michael McClain. Graphic crime scene photos were displayed during the third day of Richard Allen's trial for allegedly killing Abby Williams and Libby German in February 2017 in Delphi, Indiana. Chicago shutting down shelters designated for migrants by the end of the year. Mayor Brandon Johnson.
So we are now able to shift from a large-scale crisis response to a more cost-effective, equitable, and strategic approach that addresses homelessness for all who need support.
And Chicago aldermen have passed out of committee a proposal to lower the city's speed limit. During a meeting yesterday, council members voted to approve a proposal that would drop the speed limit from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour, backed by Alderman Daniel Espada.
We don't want more money. We don't want more money. We want to see people's behaviors change and for everybody to get home safe at the end of the day.
The ordinance now moves to the full city council, and if approved, the measure would not go into effect until 2026. The Blackhawks try to get back in the win column when they host Vancouver at the United Center tonight. Bulls continue practice for the regular season opener at New Orleans on Wednesday. And the Cubs announced that second baseman Nico Horner had hand surgery earlier this month. There's no timetable for recovery. The news service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality professional level window replacement service. Contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Valdecast.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Blue Star Security, Papa Nicholas Coffee, and by the Alpha Wealth Group.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Hugh Hewitt weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, followed by Mike Gallagher at 9. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
IC Catholic Prep in Elmhurst is an AP honor roll school dedicated to challenging and inspiring young men and women, offering opportunities to grow in your faith and participate in exciting extracurricular activities. IC Catholic Prep is a great choice because of their tight-knit community, dedicated teachers, and rigorous college preparatory curriculum. IC Catholic Prep is centered in Jesus Christ and rooted in Catholic tradition. Students learn, lead, and serve throughout their lives. Now is your chance to experience IC Catholic Prep at their open house on October 30th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The campus is located just south of downtown Elmhurst at 217 South Cottage Hill. This open house is a fantastic opportunity to see firsthand how they foster a strong sense of community and academic excellence. Bring your middle school kids and see in person why IC Catholic Prep is the right choice for your family. For more details or to register for the open house, visit iccatholicprep.org. We look forward to welcoming you on October 30th.
If you're experiencing low energy, brain fog, or bloating, then your body might need a detox. Active Liver from New Nordic makes it easy to help your liver to detox your body all year long without major changes to your diet or lifestyle.
5:39, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and this update is service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over if you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP. You could save 90% off on average to get that smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. The Ike inbound right now at 26,390 to the old post office. Stevenson, 30 minutes, 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Bishop Ford, stop and go, jamming between 115th and the Ryan Merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Partly sunny, breezy, and warm. Shower can't be ruled out today. High 75. 57 right now. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Speaking of Marines being treated badly, as we were discussing the Daniel Penny case in New York, this one not quite as serious, but nonetheless disturbing.
What is it?
This is the story making the rounds about this Marine Corps veteran who was removed from a Delta flight in San Francisco and forced to change her shirt. Catherine Banks is a 22-year veteran of the Marine Corps. She was on a flight, a Delta flight at San Francisco International to visit family on October 16th, last week. When she wore her dark gray outfit and sat in her extra legroom seat she had paid for. But then she was called over by a male flight attendant.
Oh, one of those? Just kidding.
Stewardess.
Flight attendant.
Ma'am, I looked around like, who is he talking to? And it was me. He said, you need to get off the plane. What? And I was like, what did I do?
Why?
She was escorted off the plane and onto the jet bridge where she finally learned why she was removed. I'm quoting her. He said that the shirt you're wearing is threatening. And I said, are you kidding me? She said, I'm a Marine Corps vet. I'm going to see my Marine sister. I've been in the Marine Corps for 22 years and worked for the Air Force for 15 years. I'm going to visit her. The T-shirt said, do not give in to the war within, end veteran suicide.
What? That's not offensive at all.
Well, obviously. Do not give in to the war within, end veteran suicide is what the threatening T-shirt read.
Well, that male flight attendant should be fired.
The flight attendant, stewardess, told her that she either changes the shirt or she doesn't get back on the plane. He said, according to her, I don't care about your service. I don't care about her service. The only way you're getting back on that plane is if you take it off right now. So she took it off, put on a sweatshirt, got back on the plane. They'd already given her seat away, so she had to go to the back of the bus. Delta's spokeshuman said, the matter with the customer has been resolved. Well, yeah, that's one way to put it. Her patience we appreciate her patience as we continue to work to understand what occurred during this event. Most importantly, we're thankful for her service to our country. Well, that, I guess, distinguishes Delta corporate from the Delta stewardess that she encountered. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line, and text line. I mean, this business of threatening...
Who the heck do they think they are? You're not a police. If you're a flight attendant, God, there's so many that I love, and there's so many I just can't, like, what is wrong with you? You are not an arresting authority. You are not high and mighty. You are not a movie star. You are not a celebrity. You're a flight attendant. Oh, some act like they're, I've been around for 32 years. Like, oh.
Are you doing like a Norma Desmond impersonation or something?
No, I fly a lot, so I've encountered a number of different flight attendants who some think very highly of themselves. And, it shouldn't surprise me, but yet it does. That this guy acted that way and so disrespectful to her service, and to our country.
Well, I mean, it's just not a threatening message.
No.
There's like layers of ignorance here, but of course, it's sort of well established that something on the order of 22 veterans commit suicide on a daily basis. We've known for a long time that post-traumatic stress with respect to veterans leads them to addictive spirals as well as suicide, and this is a problem that the Armed Services recognizes and has done some things to address. Over 30,000 active duty personnel and veterans who served in the military after 9/11 have died by suicide. 30,000.
30,000.
in 23 years. It's a lot.
That's
compared to the a little bit more than 7,057 killed in combat in those same 2 decades. Oh, this was published in 2021. So it's 30,000 in 20 years. More than 4 times the number of people killed in combat. So I'm even saying 22 a day doesn't really convey the gravitas of the situation. But she said, did this Marine, I feel like they took my soul away. I'm not a bad person, and that T-shirt, I should be allowed to support myself and veterans. Yeah, obviously. These, I don't know. The experiences, I'm sure, as everybody's had, are uneven with respect to air travel. And it just takes one activist, flight attendant, or it's usually the flight attendants, really, that to do something catastrophically stupid like this, to ruin the whole experience and your impression of the airline. So I'm sure Delta will want to address this because this is not good PR for them.
No, and she was wearing a T-shirt that featured a message that felt important to her to support the veteran community.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think if it would have been, if I were her, and that's a sort of situation, rather than like you have to get off the plane, I would have demanded, you tell me why I have to get off the plane right here, right now, because I want to hear it, and I want other people to hear it. So what is it? Because I know I've done nothing wrong, so I want to hear what it is. Because if he had said it's because your T-shirt is threatening, I mean, and everybody then is looking at what's going on, and they see what the T-shirt says, and she says, I'm a Marine who served 22 years, and I'm just drawing attention to the problem of people in the armed services who commit suicide because of PTSD and so forth. I mean, that would have been an interesting moment on that flight.
Right, but instead he was a coward, and he took her off the aircraft, whereas one-on-one, where he probably felt like a tough guy, and I'm going to show her. But you know what? I'm a little disappointed in her for not changing her T-shirt.
I don't know. Well, she wanted to see family. It's just like, to path of least resistance. I mean, so, and from her perspective, who knows? Maybe the next flight she gets on, you'll have another one of these flight attendants that say the same thing. I doubt the flight attendant was trying to be a tough guy, though. I don't think that.
Oh, well, what triggered him? I mean,
my guess is that that's beyond his reach. That would be my guess.
Do not give in to the war within and veteran suicide. How in the world can that be offensive? I mean, what is wrong with that guy?
Mary Kay, probably just, anti-American, anti-military. Mary Kay, Western Springs.
Hey, good morning, you guys. It's been a while. I've missed talking to you guys. Back in the old days, when there was travel deregulation, do you remember it was in the early 90s when you were probably young, Dan?
As a baby. Yeah.
You were the widow guy.
A widow one. Well, anyway, back then, also all walks of life started flying because there were the airfares went down so low, anybody could get on a plane, and that's really kind of besides the point. That the way that stewardesses treat passengers is ridiculous. I mean, you wear a T-shirt, Amy. I mean, a T-shirt with a message like that on it, and you get asked to change on an airplane.
Yeah, and then somebody else is on the plane in their pajamas, and that's not offensive. That's offensive to me. Put some adult clothes on, and for you larger, particularly women, put some clothes on that cover everything up. All right?
Cover. Yeah, for God's sake. You're on an airplane. You're in public.
No.
You're in public. Yeah, slippers too. I mean, I hate
new
slippers.
Footwear. Well, everybody wears slippers now.
Yeah,
no, you can't wear slippers. That's because you have to take. Do they do it because they have to take their shoes off when they go through?
No, they do it because that's the thing to where people wear flannel pajamas, bottoms, and slippers in school.
When I came back from Ireland, walking through O'Hare, I thought it was one big Jerry Springer audience following me around. Thanks for the call, Mary Kay.
No, I know. I mean, remember when people used to dress up to go to church and to go on flights? It was crazy. Okay, so I pulled this up, the contract of carriage for Delta Airlines. It says the airline can have passengers deplaned if their conduct, attire, hygiene or odor creates an unreasonable risk or offense
Yeah,
or annoyance to other passengers.
It's a judgment call. Obviously, we all know this. This was a judgment call. And the judgment is attire. It was a threatening attire. It was a threatening message on her attire. Obviously not. This is where, you can't just have rules and regulations. Corporate America behaves the same way government does. You actually have to have sentient, sapient beings that can make proper judgment calls. Mike in Kakana, Wisconsin.
Hey, good morning, Dan, Amy. Thanks for taking my call. I think what's more important than the richness of this discussion involving, politics, corporate nonsense is, Dan, your reference to Norma Desmond.
Yeah.
I mean, Billy Wilder's Sunset Boulevard.
I'm glad somebody appreciates me, Mike. Thank you.
Well, and also, too, the fact that when she came back, after she complied.
Well, can you let Mike have his moment talking about Sunset Boulevard? Did you want to say something about Bill Holden, Mike, or what?
Oh, he was awesome.
Yes.
No, I just didn't want you to think that reference went unnoticed.
Finally, Mike.
At least one guy caught it.
Mike, do you have the other half of this amulet that I'm wearing around my neck? Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. All right, I'm sorry. But,
what I was going to say, after she complied and she came back, I know you mentioned this, but her extra legroom seat was occupied.
Yeah, well, somebody else moved it up. Somebody who wasn't wearing a threatening T-shirt got that seat. Jim in LaGrange.
Yeah, so much for freedom of speech, right?
Oh, yeah.
But, how about getting the captain involved? Because it's a captain's ship. They don't talk about the folks who are really in charge of the plane, so I'd like to learn a little bit more about that. But, Amy, I was down in Atlanta this weekend, probably one of your favorite airports, standing in the 9-mile-long TSA line. And let me tell you something. Boy, do you get an eyeful walking through that Six Flags maze trying to get your ID check to go through. What a trip that is. Anyway, have a great day.
I mean, the TSA pre-check line in Atlanta, the TSA pre-check line is longer than the regular line. That airport is a juggernaut. And I took my I clocked from when I got off the plane to when I got to the rental car, 1.9 miles.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's a juggernaut. But it's great people watching, Dan.
No, it's not great people watching. It's depressing. I want to wear one of those cones around my neck that they put on dogs after they've had some sort of surgery so they don't bite their stitches. So I don't have to look at the detritus that is milling about in these airports.
We could neuter you tomorrow. Great.
Mark and Rochelle.
Yeah, I really think that this is a deep societal trend that people can take what authority or power they wield and enforce their feelings. Then I see it as why people vote, and this is somebody who thought, I can wield my authority over this person based on my feelings and do something physical. It's the reason why people just attack people for no reason on the subway. It's the reason why people like Alan Bragg enforce the law based on how he feels about a case. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, right. It's not standards; it's feelings. Yeah, right. I agree with that. I mean, this is a good example of sentimental barbarism. The one thing I would say, Jim, I think from LaGrange brought up the captain. I mean, I probably the captain didn't even know what was going on, or certainly not by the time before the time that she was taken off the plane and was on the jetway. But what about the other flight attendants?
Right. Why didn't they step in?
There was an opportunity. There had to be an opportunity for somebody else to step in and tell that flight attendant, "What are you doing?"
Sit this one out. I mean, what's wrong? I do love though that they reached an agreement. I would love to know what that is, and that they thanked her for her service to our country, Delta Airlines.
No, they didn't reach an agreement. They said the matter was resolved, and we're looking into it. They didn't reach any agreement with her. Phil in Maryville.
Hey, morning, guys. I just wanted to say the soy was strong in that flight attendant.
Yeah, stewardess. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Dennis Prager here. Join me on an unforgettable cruise to the Caribbean this November. We'll cruise to the vibrant islands of Half Moon Cay, Curacao, Bonaire, Turks and Caicos, and much more. We'll be joined by special guest Sean McDowell, and we'll both be sharing insights into current events in a way I hope energizes and challenges you. Secure your spot before space runs out by calling 855-565-5519 or book online at pragercruise.com.
As a local business owner, you get called every week by marketing companies. We get it. We have hundreds of satisfied customers. Here's what a satisfied client recently said.
Open enrollment is going great. We're hitting record numbers. Thank you so much for this report. It really is amazing to see how the marketing is really shaping our enrollment around the city.
If you're a local business and ready for the next step, visit surroundchicago.com right now. Our experts are ready to help you take your marketing to the next level. Visit surroundchicago.com today.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
61 years old. I'm doing my first bodybuilding show. I'm going to go straight to a national event. Well, I was a power lifter all my life, and I just lucky a year ago met Mr. Michigan and Mr. Olympia, and they asked me what I was doing, and next thing you know, I'm 4 weeks away from my first on-stage show. I've been taking the Balance of Nature for a long time. It's been incredible.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
AM 560, The Answer.
We have located the male stewardess on the Delta flight we were talking about. Here he is.
Hey, how are y'all doing? All right. My name is Maxine Kirkpatrick. I am a born and bred Michigander, a fellow on the Michigan One campaign, and president of Students for Harris Walls at Wayne State University.
There he is.
I saw that guy.
He's a white dude for
Tiniest
Harris.
hands I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
A great anecdote about government regulation was delivered by Elon Musk over the weekend. We'll discuss that. It was very illustrative of the problem as the future efficiencies are, if that is not an oxymoron, which it is. Anyway, that's at 6:06.
And Dan, we have an update on that male Karen Park City cyclist. It is now 6 a.m. WIND Chicago.
The election is now just 2 weeks away. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, but 15 million Americans have already voted early. And people can do that in person in 4 more states today, including Wisconsin, a battleground toss-up where they can cast absentee ballots and where Vice President Harris campaigned last night.
We love our country, and we believe in the foundational principles that are at stake in this election.
Calling former President Trump increasingly unstable. She was joined there and at events in Pennsylvania and Michigan by an anti-Trump Republican, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
We're not always going to agree, but I know Vice President Harris will always do what she believes is right for this country.
Former President Trump crisscrossed North Carolina, gathering with church leaders in Concord after a rally in Greenville blaming the vice president for record illegal immigration.
You're either stupid, you hate our country, or they're trying to get them to vote, right?
He also went to flood-ravaged Asheville, critical of the federal response to Hurricane Helene.
Former President Trump again claimed FEMA money was diverted for migrants in the country illegally.
So they don't have any money for the people that live here that got hit by one of the worst storms, possibly the worst storm ever.
FEMA and Homeland Security officials have repeatedly debunked that claim. The administration says more than $300 million in assistance has been approved across North Carolina for more than 87,000 households.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. FEMA has spent hundreds of millions of dollars allocated by Congress for communities and agencies dealing with an influx of migrants here illegally through a separate non-disaster shelter and services program. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Israel again, pushing for a ceasefire in Gaza days after Israel killed Hamas's leader.
It's unclear what the next few weeks will look like because Hamas needs to figure out its own leadership in order to get back to the table. The U.S. does not know who is calling the shots for Hamas inside Gaza or if anyone is in control.
Fox's Matt Finn in Tel Aviv. America's listening to Fox News.
57 degrees, 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Opening statements resuming today in the racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan and Michael McClain. His opening statements began yesterday. Prosecutors said Madigan used his status to betray the public trust. At an unrelated event on Monday, Governor J.B. Pritzker tried to blunt the impact the trial could have on Democrats statewide.
You know, when there's any discussion of corruption by some elected officials, it hurts people on both sides of the aisle because, as you know, there's corruption that's occurred in both parties.
Prosecutors say the 200-plus recordings they plan to show actually explain how the lawmaker used his influence to pass legislation favorable to utility companies that doled out kickbacks, jobs, and contracts to Madigan loyalists. The city of Chicago planning to shut down shelters designated for migrants by the end of the year. Mayor Brandon Johnson.
So we are now able to shift from a large-scale crisis response to a more cost-effective, equitable, and strategic approach that addresses homelessness for all who need support.
Until the transition is completed by the end of December, migrants seeking shelter must have been in the country for no more than 30 days. The new system will also end the 60-day eviction policy at most migrant shelters. Trial is underway for a man charged with the killing of an incoming Northwestern University grad student in 2018 on the north side. Deontay Speed faces a first-degree murder charge in the shooting death of Shane Colombo. An Illinois state representative plans to tour prisons in the state to investigate how they're dealing with paper-laced with drugs. State Representative Adam Nienberg says he'll start at the Lawrence Correctional Center, where he said paper correspondence for inmates is often laced with dangerous drugs.
And the employees are opening that and inhaling that substance and having to be sent to the hospital. It's a very, very serious issue because the inmates are taking that substance, rolling it, and then smoking it on that correspondence that's coming in.
The Illinois Department of Corrections did not immediately respond to requests for comments on the state representative's proposed tour. The Blackhawks will try to get back in the win column tonight when they host Vancouver at the UC. Bulls continue practice for the regular season opener at New Orleans on Wednesday. Ravens and Cardinals notching wins on Monday Night Football. The news, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you can save 90% off on average. To get your smile back, learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, tunein.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
The socialists who want to move into the White House have a lot of plans for your money. One of them is to control the price of food, and this is just the start. Could 401ks and IRAs be next on their agenda? It might sound far-fetched, but so did price fixing just months ago. Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here. If you've spent decades building your nest egg, you can act now to stop your savings from falling into the hands of the socialists. It's why Americans are turning to gold, the ultimate safe haven in uncertain times. To see how easy it is to diversify your retirement with gold, get a free info kit from my friends at Birch Gold by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. Birch Gold makes it easy to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait any longer. Protect your financial future now. Text PROTECT to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold, the only gold company I trust.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm a doctor myself. I've used it and I've turned a lot of my patients onto it as well. It's a good product.
You know, Balance of Nature is becoming pretty important out there to a lot of people. And when I first started, I was really impressed. I'm a healthcare professional, trained as a pharmacist. So anything that's natural, I like. And so it made a lot of sense.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
6:07. Let's get an update on the roads now in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this update is a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations. Hot air roasted locally and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. Eden stop and go already inbound between Foster and Montrose. 41 on the inbound Kennedy, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Kennedy outbound, left lane blocked with an accident. That's outbound at Foster. And on the outbound Stevenson this morning, as you're traveling outbound on the off-ramp to California, there's an accident being tended to by emergency officials. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Partly sunny, breezy, warm day today. Can't rule out a shower. High today 75. Partly cloudy tonight, low 56. Breezy tomorrow morning. Cooler, some clouds and sun. High 62. Partly sunny, nice day Thursday, the high 65. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
57 at O'Hare. Next news 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So over the weekend, the $2 million that Elon Musk gave away to petition signers in Pennsylvania was sort of a headliner. You can understand why.
Hello. It's better than you get a car and you get a car. You get $1 million. What? This is awesome.
And it will continue in the swing states to register voters who sign his I Support the First and Second Amendment petition. $1 million a day until November 5th, until Election Day. But one of the things that he discussed was regulation, since this is the guy that talks about wanting to improve government efficiency, talk about a Sisyphean task, and who Trump is touting as the guy who's going to come in and, do to the federal government what he did to Twitter, cut the workforce substantially and improve the product. So he told this anecdote about SpaceX and the government studies they had to do with respect to their Starship rocket. It's just a great story, and it's one of these absurdities that everybody pretends, oh, of course we shouldn't be doing that. Of course what you're going to hear is ridiculous. But that's not really how it works out in practice, because all of the externalities that occur and all of the ridiculous anecdotes like the one you're about to hear from Elon Musk, they are subordinated to the spoils of war and the fiefdoms that need to be protected, which is why they persist. So it's one thing for everybody to throw up their hands or laugh at this, talk about how ridiculous it is. It's quite another thing to get something done about it. And frankly, Republicans haven't shown much ability over the last, 50 years to get much done about it either. So enjoy the anecdote, but think about the effort it will take to do something about stories like the one Musk tells here.
We had to do this. SpaceX had to do the study to see if Starship would hit a shark. And I'm like, it's a big ocean, there's a lot of sharks. It's not impossible, but it's very unlikely. And I said, well, you have to, this is, I think, from National Marine Fisheries, one of the, NIMF it's called. They were like, well, you have to do the study on whether you're going to hit a shark. We're like, what? And then we said, okay, well, fine, we'll do the analysis. And then, well, can you give us the shark data? They're like, no, we can't give you the shark data. We're like, okay, well, then we're in a bit of a quandary. How do we solve this this shark probability issue? And they said, well, we could give it to our Western division, but we don't trust them. And I'm like, am I in a comedy sketch here? And then, they're worried about the shark density data, like the people who hunt sharks for shark fins somehow getting their hands on this shark data. And so eventually I think we got the data and we could run the analysis to say, like, yeah, the sharks are going to be fine. But they wouldn't let us proceed with launch until we did this crazy shark data. And then we thought, okay, now we're done. And they said, but what about whales? I'm like, when you look at a picture of the Pacific, what percentage of the surface area of the Pacific do you see as whale? Because look at a picture, I don't see any, it's like, where's a whale? And honestly, if the ship did hit a whale, it's like, honestly, that whale had it coming, because it's like the odds are so low. It's like Final Destination, the whale edition. It's like fate had it in for that whale, and so we had to do the whale analysis. And it's like, okay, yeah, the whales will be fine too, It goes on. And then there's like, well, what if the rocket goes underwater, then explodes, and then the whales have hearing damage? Like, this is real. This is actually, and we're like, look, if we could make a rocket go underwater and be a submarine, that would be like a feat of physics we could not accomplish, okay? This is not how it works. So anyway, just one like crazy thing after another where, so this is why I'm really feeling the pain of the overregulation.
Great Final Destination reference, by the way. But in addition to that, the larger story. I mean, how absurd is that? And, we're all against the backdrop of everybody celebrating the great physical feat he did accomplish with the, catching that skyscraper falling from the sky with those little arms on that platform a couple of weeks ago, in terms of what he's done in advance of space travel and occupying Mars, per his T-shirts. But I mean that stuff is real, and it happens at a granular level to a lot of people that don't have the capacity of Elon Musk to deal with it, to navigate it. It's like what is talked about all the time is all the small businesses or medium-sized businesses that don't have the resources to and the mind share to deal with retaining lobbyists and fighting regulation and all or not even fighting it, just trying to comply with it. I mean, so it's a huge thing, and it's just something that politicians throw around and say, oh, I'm going to cut regulation. And very few of them mean that, which is why it rarely gets done. Trump did a good job of essentially holding Federal Register harmless during his 4 years. But, I mean, that happening to Musk on a cutting edge tech company like SpaceX, it just speaks and the absurdity of it. Now, just think about all of the other stick-up jobs and absurdities that ordinary Americans around the country deal with when they interact with the federal government, whether they're trying to do something entrepreneurial or whatever. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. It's not a sexy issue, but it's a big one, and I guess maybe the challenge is to tell more stories like Musk's experience to provide some concreteness to what is otherwise an abstraction, cutting regulation, reducing the size of government. This is, again, said over and over and over again, and we have a Leviathan that has grown exponentially and does with each succeeding generation. The rich men north of Richmond that Oliver Anthony spoke about, it wasn't just the politicians. It's all of those chieftains in the administrative state. And you really do need someone. I don't know if Elon Musk is the guy for the job, but I would concede he's a good candidate. You really do need someone to ride point on that. And as I said before, if Trump does nothing else in his final term, then remove the top 2 or 3 layers of leadership of all of these federal agencies and riff and through whatever legal means are otherwise available, reduction in force, reduce just eliminate positions, reduce the actual headcount and size and cost of these agencies. If he could just do that to make significant progress in resetting the table and the balance of power between the administrative state, our elected officials, and, oh, by the way, the law-abiding Americans who put the bill for all this, that would be a successful term, in my view.
Do you think he should get rid of the Department of Education?
I think he should get rid of all of these agencies. I mean, that have been talked about, and this is, I'm specifically talking about Republicans, going back to Reagan. And all these agencies, I mean, most of them are relatively new. It's like, the founders, this is the vision. No, it's not the vision of the founders. EPA was under Nixon. Energy was under, and education was under Carter, if I'm remembering correctly.
Homeland Security under Bush.
Right. Yeah. I mean, education, or again, if you can't eliminate it, then just eliminate it from the inside by just turning it into a big scholarship fund.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on the same line.
Education, energy, commerce, and all of these sub-agencies, like, for example, what Musk was talking about. I mean, you have to go through this with a magnifying glass. I mean, the Federal Register is hundreds of thousands of pages, or certainly more than 100,000 now, I think. These agencies, like that obscure agency he was talking about, you think, oh, well, this is an agency that would never have anything to do with commerce, except of course it does. Never have anything to do with economic freedom, except of course it does, because they're making a guy who's trying to occupy Mars do studies about shark and whale impact of a rocket ship that may land in the ocean. Or, the booster or whatever. But this is I wish more people would come forward and tell more stories like Musk did, because it's really useful to provide a frame of reference for folks. Mike in the Loop, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
A couple of things. One old, one new. One new is exactly what you guys are talking about. These guys, these bureaucrats in D.C., working from home, wherever they're working from, are basically making laws every day. Not just the guys in Congress, but they're making laws. They might be making new statutes. It's just incredible. It's just totally run amok without any representation at all. The other thing I was going to talk about is that Margaret Brennan debate, and I know it's kind of old, but the more I thought about it, the more dismissive she was, and how she said, we have to move on. We have important things to get to. I mean, they are just so full of themselves. It's just incredible. I mean,
yeah.
Well, they have an agenda. They always have. But we're seeing it more and more every day with this, 2 weeks away from the election, folks.
Well, it's not just that they have an agenda. It's that they're saying we set the agenda. You're going to talk about what we want to talk about, which is why in that moment Vance should have said, you know what, Margaret, I'm here to talk about things that I believe are a concern to the American people. Whether you do or not is really not interesting to me. And so I'm going to spend my time talking about the things that I came here to talk about because I think they have resonance. And if the American people decide they don't, that's up to them. Fine. That would have been a moment to use her as a proxy for the entire D.C. press corps to remind them exactly what their position is, or at least should be. With respect to the other thing that Mike was saying, the Supreme Court decision, which hasn't been talked about as much, and again, it gets a little esoteric, but that the Chevron, eliminating the Chevron deference doctrine, as the Supreme Court did last term, is a huge deal. And it provides real opportunity with the right people in positions of authority, executive and legislative, to go after these administrative agencies to do exactly what I said, to reorient the leadership of them and to shrink the scope of them. Mike just mentioned, too, where are these federal employees working from home? Yeah, good question. Yeah. Joni Ernst and Gary Peters, she's a Republican from Iowa, he's a Dem senator from Michigan, have introduced the Telework Transparency Act, in which each federal agency would have to lay out its work-from-home policy and count how many people come into the office. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. The Social Security Administration, not one of the 24 largest agencies have used even half of its office space during a 3-month period last year, according to the Office of Personnel Management. Not one of the 24 largest agencies used even half of its office space. Social Security Administration, 7% occupancy.
Oh, come on.
So get
back to work.
Well, or get rid of the agencies or these the buildings, the office space. Right. That's a savings. Get rid of a lot of the people too. You have to. I mean, I go back to that statistic. The idea that in this country, 1 in 5 white Americans work for government. 1 in 5 college-educated white Americans work for government. Okay. 1 in 5 college-educated Americans work for government. 3 in 5 college-educated black Americans do. You're creating a political ruling class that has nothing to do with the politicians, because there are so many livelihoods and household incomes that are dependent on transfer payments and the growth of the state. That has to change. These are supposed to be some of our best and brightest. And I'm sure I know there are many bright people who work in government. So it's not about that, but it's about the idea that some of our best and brightest could be doing a lot more to advance the cause of a free society than being a mid-level manager in some bureaucracy that does very little, imposes very much in terms of cost, and just sort of coasting through life with job security and, frankly, better than private sector compensation and benefits. That this whole system is a problem. It's very reminiscent of how Illinois became a failed state. Jack in Northwest Indiana.
Good morning, guys. A prime example that hits everybody every day. This story isn't as profound as the shark story, but every time you get a credit card, every time you have an insurance product, how many disclosure forms are presented in front of you, and how many individuals actually take the 4 hours that it would take to read each and every one of those disclosure forms. Every day in the mail or email, you receive more disclosure forms that, insurance products or what have you. Nobody bothers to read them because it doesn't affect them. Yet somebody decided 17 pages of disclosure are required to go take a baby aspirin. It's just absurd, and it continues, but it affects everybody.
Yeah, and it's it's the lawyer full employment program. I mean, I think it was Bill Buckley. I may be getting the metaphor wrong, but Bill Buckley, I mean, decades ago, said, talking about regulation, there are more words in the Federal Register devoted to the production and sale of broccoli than there are in the Declaration of Independence. Does that tell you that we've gotten a little far afield? Greg in Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. I used to sell engineered plastics, and we had one of our materials was mil-spec approved. It went into rifles, particularly for like special operations guys. So it was very low volume business. But because of that, we would get requests for quotations on any of the same materials for other stuff from the military. Anyways, we had this thing with for artillery shells, and it was decent volume business. But the request for quotation came through on two big FedEx things, and it was almost 900 pages of documentation that you had to fill out just to quote the business. And I mean, getting the business probably required another 3 to 4 years of testing and everything else. I mean, we would have had to have put probably, I don't know, a couple $100,000, and this is back in the 90s, to get that business. And it's like that's why stuff costs so much with, in particular, the military. I mean, to make that work, that molding compound would have had to have been triple the price that you would have bought at the same quantity for a commercial application. It's insane. It's just absolutely insane. You guys have a good one.
Thanks, Greg. Good example. Mike, Littleton, Colorado.
Good morning, and thank you for taking my call. I had the pleasure of putting a hot water heater in with my son over the weekend, and the penalty is the process. And whenever you hire the unemployable, this is what you get. And you want to install a hot water heater to code. Okay, what are the codes? Well, you have to look them up. Okay, well, let's go look up what the codes are. They are written in such legalese and, pages and pages of things to install a hot water heater. And my son flies for an airline professionally. He's a captain. And in his 32-year-old wisdom, he looked at me at the end of it all and said, Dad, I can't imagine what Airbus must have to go through to get an airplane certified. We're getting raped, dying by a million cuts just daily, and we're probably all in a violation of something at some time. It's amazing. But God bless America anyway, and thank you for your hard
wait, did
work.
you get the water heater situated?
Oh, yeah, I don't give a damn about the code. I got it made. I used to build houses. We got it fixed, but it's just the whole point. You're trying to do the right thing, but they can't even define what the right thing is. The right thing is just a stack of papers. And you need an expansion chamber and all of that other stuff. We figured all that out, the technical aspects, but just trying to do it right is, finding that formula, it's almost impossible. Where's it kept? Right?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the law becomes, thanks for the call, Mike, the law becomes unknowable. I mean, compliance becomes unknowable. I mean, first of all, how does Airbus get a plane through? As well, because these big companies essentially write the rules and regulations. I mean, they're not completely innocent either. That oftentimes those who do have teams of lobbyists and do have politicians on the payroll or de facto on the payroll, writing regulations to protect themselves and their position in industry. So that's a problem too, agency capture. But that's a problem because the state is so big that it provides opportunities for that sort of anti-competitive conduct by big players. But the law is unknowable. You don't have the rule of law anymore. And this essentially was the thesis of Harvey Slivergate's book, 3 Felonies a Day. We've had him on the show before, the criminal attorney. 3 Felonies a Day, which came out like 15 years ago. Or The Death of Common Sense, Philip Howard's book, that came out, I think, a decade earlier than that. 3 felonies a day was the idea, exactly what Mike's saying. Like, you're committing 3 felonies a day. Most Americans are, and they don't even know it. If you want to really go into the minutia of criminal law, and if somebody wanted to hold you criminally liable for this little transgression or this minor offense. Well, if people don't know it, whether it's the criminal law or the Federal Register, governing all things like the installation of a hot water heater, then you do not have the rule of law. And if you don't have the rule of law, you don't have a free society. What you have is sort of a technocracy. And that's what we have now. And that's what Trump needs to do something about starting on January 20th of next year. All right, coming up at 6:36, we will get to Mark Cuban's formulation on why Kamala and Joe Biden opened the borders when they took office. That's at 6:36.
And The View has 6 women on. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Tampon Tim sat down for a little discussion with the ladies yesterday. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
Helps that Airbus is 1/4 owned by Germany, France, and Spain. So government has their hands in it too. 6:31 on AM 560, The Answer. Topping our news this morning, the election 2 weeks away, and both candidates are hitting the ground running this week. Former President Trump visiting North Carolina on Monday, held afternoon rallies in Greenville after touring hurricane damage near Asheville. Meantime, Vice President Harris focused on Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, and at an event in Michigan warned of a second Trump term.
The Supreme Court essentially told the former president he will be immune from anything he does in office. So whereas before there was at least some threat of consequence and accountability, that no longer exists.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken arriving in Israel. It's another attempt to revive ceasefire talks. Meantime, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin visited Ukraine on Monday as Russia and Ukraine continue grinding in that war-torn country at a stalemate. Demonstrations at the University of Minnesota in St. Paul Monday are what led to nearly a dozen arrests involving pro-Palestinian protesters who locked themselves inside a hall on campus. Crain's Chicago Business this morning reporting that Chicago's deputy mayor for education is stepping aside. Jen Johnson is leaving during the fight between the Chicago Board of Education, CEO Pedro Martinez, and the mayor's office over the direction and funding of the Chicago public schools. Johnson claims she will be on leave for the next several weeks to focus on her health and family. Johnson was formerly chief of staff for the Chicago Teachers Union. Opening statements resuming today in the racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. Madigan's attorney urged the jury to focus on what his intentions were and not what someone says on wiretapped recordings. The city of Chicago is shutting down shelters designated for migrants by the end of the year. Mayor Brandon Johnson.
So we are now able to shift from a large-scale crisis response to a more cost-effective, equitable, and strategic approach that addresses homelessness for all who need support.
And Chicago aldermen have passed out of committee a proposal to lower the city's speed limit on non-IDOT controlled streets from 30 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour. The Blackhawks try to get back in the win column when they host Vancouver at the United Center tonight. Bulls continue practice for the regular season opener at New Orleans. Cubs announcing yesterday second baseman Nico Hoerner had hand surgery earlier this month. There's no timetable for recovery. The news service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand. And just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Everything about your product is 100%. I look forward to it. I'll put it that way. I'm 71 years old. Balance of Nature is the absolute best product. I love your product. And you guys, when I call you on the phone, you're the best. So I'm very grateful.
My husband's a retired cop, and I worked in a hospital for years. I'm going out right now because I'm getting ready to paint my fence. It's just literally amazing. And, you know, you watch the TV articles and you go, yeah. Well, at least it's 100% returnable if it doesn't work. I'm not kidding you. It is the most amazing product I've ever taken.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
If you have high blood pressure, you have the #1 risk factor for mortality.
Don't be a walking time bomb. Make this change and watch your blood pressure drop.
Order a 120 Life today.
Yes, 120 Life is an amazing blend of superfood juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure.
It's been endorsed by thousands of health professionals and doesn't have the side effects of medication.
It's up to you to control your blood pressure, not Big Pharma.
Seriously, 120 Life could be the natural game changer in your life. Try it yourself risk-free with a 2-week trial pack. You've got nothing to lose but your high blood pressure.
Go to 120life.com and use promo code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
120 Life is so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied.
Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. From pomegranates to cranberries, it's the delicious way to lower your blood pressure. It really works.
Go to 120life.com now. Use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
Wealth Health Radio. The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
Make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
Dinesh D'Souza here. Have you heard about my new movie? It's called Vindicating Trump. It's based on my book of the same name. The movie is a deep dive into the real reasons why the left and the Democrats hate Donald Trump so much. They're afraid Trump will dethrone them once again. The one man who can stand up to the tyranny of the left. Don't miss my no-holds-barred defense of Trump in Vindicating Trump. You can watch it now or buy the DVD. Go to salemnow.com, salemnow.com.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
6:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of the Byrna Less Lethal Launcher. How are you preparing to protect your family from the increase in crime? The Byrna Launcher can stop an attacker in their tracks. Don't compromise on safety. Byrna is legal in all 50 states. No background checks or permits required, and it's shipped right to your door. Visit Byrna.com. That's BYRNA.com. The Kennedy Solid, an hour and 5. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. 2 left lanes blocked with an accident on the outbound Kennedy right at Bryn Mawr. Ike inbound, 1 hour, 390 to the old post office. Stevenson Solid, stop and go, Harlem to Kedzie. Outbounders, there's an accident on the on-ramp from California blocking a lane. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Partly sunny, breezy, and warm. Can't rule out a shower as well, high 75. Currently, mostly cloudy and 57. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
2 weeks away from the election and less than 2 weeks away from our annual Freedom Summit, and tickets are on sale now for Freedom Summit 2024. It's happening on Saturday, November 2nd at the Westin Chicago Northwest on Itasca. It's a full day of keynote speeches, book signings, breakout sessions, and much more. Our headline speaker this year is the one and only Dinesh D'Souza. You'll also be hearing from economist Stephen Moore and Dr. Sebastian Gorka, along with many, many more. Jennifer Say is going to be there as well, the former COO of Levi's. She has a new book, and she has a new T-shirt line of XXXY. You'll hear from her at a breakout session. And if you haven't been to Freedom Summit, then you need to join us this year. And if you're a Freedom Summit veteran, we'd love to have you join us again. This event sells out every year, so do not wait to get your tickets. Go to freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. We have tickets available at several different price points to fit your budget. So get your tickets right now and make plans to join us, and we will see you at Freedom Summit 2024 on November 2nd at the Westin in Itasca. How's that sale? Did I hook you? Dan, are you going to go to Freedom Summit now?
I have to. Mark Cuban, as he continues his transition to some sort of mashup of Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow.
Isn't it? It's true. They look alike. They're all starting to look alike. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the glasses or their attitude, the way they talk. They're so schmarmy.
Cuban explaining, not on behalf of the campaign, although he's a big fan of Kamala. He did a little stand-up routine at a rally in Wisconsin, was he?
And he was reading from his phone the whole time.
Anyway, he addressing the little problem we have at the border and have had for the last 3.5 years under Kamala and company, saying this.
Yeah. I thought their hearts were too big when Joe came into office, that they didn't know how many people would cross the border, and it got away from them. But they figured it out. They learned.
The hearts were too big. Big hearts lead to open borders. And actually, that's sort of true in a sense, what he's saying. It's just in the sense that when you lead by, when you're guided by sentiment, you make catastrophic decisions. But it's not just sentiment. It's obviously the other piece of it where he's not right about is this is purposeful, maybe not with Joe because he's not exactly a deep policy thinker, even when he was at his best, and not maybe Kamala because she's not a deep policy thinker, even when she's at her best, whenever that was. These are both ciphers for the radical left. So maybe not by them, but they did the bidding of the radical left who won open borders for a very different reason, not because their hearts are too big, but because their lust for power is too big. That's the other piece of it that Cuban doesn't confront. Oh, and by the way, he may not want to celebrate the modest temporary decline in illegal border crossings too loudly because we've got another migrant caravan heading to the U.S. border ahead of the election. Migrants fleeing Venezuela, Haiti, Honduras, parts of Africa departed the city of Tapachula in Mexico on Sunday, and which is on the country's southern border with Guatemala, and making their way up to our southern border and, of course, into our country.
They'll jump on those trains. They'll get to, Ciudad Juarez or maybe go to Nogales and then come in here before the election. So what do they know that we don't know? Do they think that Trump is going to win? So there's a mass exodus from their countries to try, are we going to have to reopen shelters? Are people going to have to be living in police departments like they used to? Remember that? That was almost 13 months straight of them occupying our police departments, our districts.
BLM Brandon said the city will end shelters designated for newly arrived immigrants this year.
Sure.
Starting to transition this week to merge two shelter systems known as the One System Initiative.
That's so cute. I mean, they're going to love each other. They're going to get along great, Dan. That's a great idea.
Bringing the city together. I mean, finally somebody has bridged the gap between the homeless indigenous population and the homeless illegal immigrant population. It's wonderful. Tony Gonzalez, he's a congresshuman from Texas. My constituents live with immigration's effects every day. His district encompasses several hundred miles of the southern border. The approximately 11 million migrant encounters our country has endured has spread violence and inflicted economic distress. Frequent high-speed chases between drug runners, human smugglers, and law enforcement agents endanger our residents. As of September, he sent a letter to Homeland Security requesting the ICE docket. I mean, this is the guy that got the information that we've been talking about for the last week and a half about the what was it? 430,000 convicted criminals and 226,000 with pending criminal charges. That's more than 650,000 illegal immigrants with criminal records, and approximately 647,000 of them were not detained.
But yet they were able to get that information about them on their way in. 13,000 rapists, convicted rapists, or sexual assault, sexual abuse, and then 15,000 convicted murderers. That's nice. Yeah. Got a text message. Kamala's heart is just so big that she wants to turn all the illegals she let into Democrats. Her heart is that big, Dan and Amy.
Yeah.
Gracious of Mamala.
Her flaw is that she cares too much. Yeah. Loves too much, cares too much. Right. Those are her flaws. This was an interesting piece in the Daily Mail. A map of where Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang, has set up shop in this country. This is based on arrest data that was shared with the Daily Mail. They're operating even in a lot more cities than originally feared, and I guess San Antonio, Texas is their latest hub of activity. But if you look at this map the Daily Mail published, they have essentially set up shop, and they set up shop just in Mexico as like sort of their North American base, if you will, in Juarez. And now they've got operations in all these big and not so big cities around the country that all radiate, cash and whatever else back to Juarez. But so Chicago's on the map, New York is on the map, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, Miami, Aurora, Colorado. But it's just a few buildings. I know. It's just a few apartment buildings.
Dan, do you hear yourself? It's just a few buildings.
But Athens, Georgia.
University of Georgia. Yeah.
Stamford, Connecticut. Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin.
Prairie? Where? I don't even know where that is.
It's like west of Madison.
Okay.
It's probably like 4 hours from Chicago or so. But I mean, so these small towns too. Well, I mean, like we've seen and we've reported, but I mean, it's not just the big metropolitan areas, and it's not going to be so long as this continues unabated, and that seems to be the plan. Maybe the One System Initiative. I'm still. Boy, I don't know which is more impressive, more relevant. The One System Initiative that BLM Brand announced, or that reduction in the speed limit from 35 to 30 miles an hour that the city council is moving. These are people who have their finger on the pulse of stuff. These are people that are out there making sure that the quality of life concerns of ordinary Americans, whether these local Bolsheviks here or the federal Bolsheviks are tended to.
Well, it's also Daniel LaSpada's plan is resident-based reporting of bus and bike lane blockages. That's going to go well.
Wonderful. That is big stuff.
Forget citizen journalists. We have citizen snitches now. Somebody, I'm going to call 311. You're blocking the bike lane.
And is that number? Is that also going to be part of the One System Initiative for people who want to call to report somebody being shot?
I mean, if all that's going on in Chicago, he's worried about that.
Yeah, lowering the speed limit, monitoring the bike lanes. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, let's salute Chicago's mayor for his new Gimme Shelter program.
Sure, yeah. I see a Stones accompaniment there. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Early voting in downtown Chicago is now open through Election Day on November 5th. You can now go to the Chicago Voting Super Site at 191 North Clark or board offices at 69 West Washington Street on the 6th floor to vote. Early voting in all 50 wards of Chicago begins Monday, October 21st at 9 a.m. Any voter can vote at any early voting site, no matter where they live in the city. Same-day registration is available at all early voting sites. Just bring 2 forms of ID, one with your current address. Go to chicagoelections.gov for more information.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Everything about your product is 100%. I look forward to it. I'll put it that way. I'm 71 years old. Balance of Nature is the absolute best product. I love your product. And you guys, when I call you on the phone, you're the best. So I'm very grateful.
My husband's a retired cop, and I worked in a hospital for years. I'm going out right now because I'm getting ready to paint my fence. It's just literally amazing. And, you know, you watch the TV articles and you go, yeah. Well, at least it's 100% returnable if it doesn't work. I'm not kidding you. It is the most amazing product I've ever taken.
Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com and get this special offer by using discount code
Chicago.
Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here. I never thought I'd see price fixing as a campaign promise. What's next? Is your 401k or IRA on the left's to-do list? This is why you need to act now and protect your nest egg. I believe gold is the answer. To find out more, get a free info kit from Birch Gold by texting the word SHELTER to the number 989898. Act now to secure your financial future. Text SHELTER to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
Hear that? The relaxing sound of ambient music in a yoga class. And if you were here, you'd listen to 15 people taking a deep breath in sync. But you're not here. Because your self-care happens out on the road, riding your motorcycle protected by Progressive. So if you ride, get a quote today and see if you could save with Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. And find inner peace with a different pose called Palms on Handlebars. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states.
Mount Katahdin, 100,000 acres of wilderness.
We're gonna hike there?
You're almost men now.
From Sylvester Stallone and Blue Fox Entertainment comes the film Lost on a Mountain in Maine.
Don, slow down.
You want us to be men? We're going to the top.
Where's Dominic?
Get out of here. Where's your brother?
A family searches for their son lost in the wilderness.
I always told him, when things get tough, press on.
The true inspirational story, Lost on a Mountain in Maine. In theaters November 1st. Tickets at lostonamountainинmainemovie.com.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. Last week, rallygoers at a Wisconsin rally proclaimed Jesus is Lord. Vice President Kamala Harris responded,
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
Liberal Supreme Court Justice William O. Douglas once wrote, "We Americans are a religious people whose institutions presuppose a supreme being." Alexis de Tocqueville put it that religion is the first of our political institutions. Today, well over 2/3 of our country still identifies as Christian. Thank God. Curious then, one of the major two parties in America has fielded a candidate for president in Kamala Harris who is so very anti-Christian. Perhaps that's the Democratic Party now, given its efforts to suppress so much religious expression, to go after religious charities and public outreach. In the past week, Kamala Harris also deliberately shunned the Al Smith dinner while mailing in a video mocking Catholicism. It's all a new level of Judeo-Christian insult. We should all be watching and listening to and taking this anti-Christianity seriously. I'm Seth Leibson.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and health care, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Early voting in downtown Chicago's now open through Election Day on November 5th. You can now go to the Chicago Voting Super Site at 191 North Clark or board offices at 69 West Washington Street on the 6th floor to vote. Early voting in all 50 wards of Chicago begins Monday, October 21st at 9 a.m. Any voter can vote at any early voting site, no matter where they live in the city. Same-day registration is available at all early voting sites. Just bring 2 forms of ID, one with your current address. Go to chicagoelections.gov for more information.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
That sound means it's time for In-Depth History with Frank, the history teacher from Arlington Heights, because there's nothing new in this world, just the history you don't know, and Frank from Arlington Heights does. Frank, take it away.
Good morning. Harry S. Truman once complained that he wanted his advisors to bring him a damned one-armed economist. This is because of their tendency to always answer his questions about policy by stating that on the one hand it could do this, but on the other hand it might do that. But such is the dismal science, as all good economists know how multivariable their field is. Now, if Truman asked about tariffs today, though, he'd surely find a lot of these one-armers, because the notion that tariffs can do any good is completely dismissed out of hand by academics, CEOs, and so-called business journalists. Trump had to face this right here at the Economic Club of Chicago last week, and he should have explained that tariff barriers indeed have their place, and their potential negative domestic effects can be lessened by increased internal competition and a smaller regulatory state. In other words, if protective measures and smaller government lead to more internal production that exceeds the possible loss in foreign imports, then tariffs shouldn't really cause any upward price pressure, should they? Alexander Hamilton certainly felt this way back in 1789. One aspect of the interview, though, not really commented upon, but Trump was also channeling Niccolo Machiavelli, who once wrote, quote, "Among other evils which being unarmed brings you, it causes you to be despised," end quote. Now, since the days of FDR and Cordell Hull, Congress has ceded more and more power on tariff rates to the president, and the effect has been near unilateral national disarmament on trade flows. So Trump's riposte that he basically swept the leg of Emmanuel Macron by raising tariffs on wine and champagne in response to new French mercantilism signaled to the American people that if he is elected, they will be led by a street fighter on trade and all other issues come January 20th.
Interesting, a wonderful accent d'aigu as well, as always, Frank. Hamilton was a proponent of industrial subsidies, too. Which I'm not
it's not perfect, but,
yeah.
I mean, you have on a basic tariff graph, anybody who knows economics knows this, there's dead weight loss there.
Right.
But, at the same time, if you have a really low world price because of all these advantages other countries have, you basically are putting a binding price ceiling on our domestic markets, which causes dead weight loss of a different type. So, you have national concerns too, and I'm not saying that tariffs are always a good thing. They aren't.
Yeah.
But, that was Taft's argument to the Payne-Aldrich one, the idea that, if we, raise tariffs on some things, we have to make sure there's internal competition. That's what we have to have. So.
Well, it was a little different back in the 19th century, too, because the federal government relied for most of its funding from tariff revenue because we didn't have the noxious national income tax.
Well, and of course the government was smaller, so it didn't need as much revenue. The tariff,
Correct.
I mean, they did the income tax so they could grow the government. So what's your favorite tariff, Dan? Mine is the Dingley tariff. I just think that's a cool name for a tariff, 1897.
I'll have to think about that. Frank, thanks as always. We appreciate it.
Tariffs are so sexy. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
They really are.
Yeah, it's a beautiful word, according to Trump.
Coming up at 7:07, we'll talk to Congressman Mike Collins from Georgia.
Today, a high of 75, and showers cannot be ruled out at 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
15 million Americans have already voted. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and it's 2 weeks before Election Day. And people in 4 more states can go to the polls in person today, including in Wisconsin, one of the battleground toss-up states where Vice President Harris campaigned last night, calling former President Trump increasingly unstable.
It's all about himself and his personal grievances. And do we want a president of the United States who spends full time plotting revenge while they sit in the Oval Office?
Harris was joined there and on stage in Pennsylvania and Michigan by former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, an anti-Trump Republican urging others in the GOP to vote Democrat.
You can vote your conscience and not ever have to say a word to anybody.
Well, the former president will meet with Latino leaders in Miami this morning before returning later in the day to North Carolina, another toss-up state. He made 3 stops there yesterday, meeting with church leaders in Concord after a rally in Greenville.
I will massively cut taxes for workers and small businesses, and very importantly, there will be no tax on tips.
The former president also toured damage and flood-ravaged Asheville, meeting with Hurricane Helene victims.
I'm with you, and the American people are with you all the way.
Again, critical of the federal response to Hurricane Helene and FEMA's spending that, again, prompted Democrats to accuse former President Trump of spreading misinformation. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Israel, pushing again for a ceasefire in Gaza, days after Israel killed Hamas's leader. And before Blinken arrived,
the sirens went off here in Tel Aviv. We looked up in the sky and saw at least one missile being intercepted right above us. And Hezbollah says it launched dozens of rockets into Israel. To the north in Lebanon, Israel has been bombing Hezbollah targets over the past 48 hours. Lebanese officials say 13 people were killed.
That's Fox's Matt Finn. America's listening to Fox News.
57 degrees. Skies are cloudy at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Crane Chicago Business reporting that Chicago's deputy mayor for education is stepping aside. Jen Johnson leaving during the fight between Chicago Board of Education members, CEO Pedro Martinez, and the mayor's office over direction and funding of the Chicago public schools. Opening statements resuming today in the racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker, Democrat Michael Madigan. At an unrelated event Monday, Governor J.B. Pritzker tried to blunt the impact the trial could have on Democrats statewide.
You know, when there's any discussion of corruption by some elected officials, it hurts people on both sides of the aisle because, as you know, there's corruption that's occurred in both parties.
Prosecutors say the 200-plus recordings that they'll feature show how the lawmaker used his influence to pass legislation favorable to utility companies that doled out kickbacks, jobs, and contracts to Madigan loyalists. Chicago shutting down shelters designated for migrants by the end of the year. The closures part of the city's plan to launch a new shelter system that would combine the city's migrant shelters with traditional homeless shelters. Chicago aldermen have passed out of committee a proposal to lower the city's speed limit on non-IDOT controlled streets. During a meeting yesterday, council members voted to approve dropping the speed limit from 30 to 25 miles per hour over several objections.
When you're dealing with homelessness, violence, lack of economic opportunity, I'm sorry, but reducing the speed limit is not the number one issue.
The ordinance now moves to the full city council. If approved, the measure would not go into effect until 2026. And plea negotiations are underway between federal prosecutors here in Chicago and one of the sons of former Sinaloa cartel boss Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Ovidio Guzman Lopez and his brother face sweeping narcotics trafficking charges. The Blackhawks go at it tonight when they host Vancouver at the United Center. The Bulls continue prep for the regular season opener at New Orleans on Wednesday. The news service of Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of At Properties, Christie's International Real Estate, experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago with over $800 million in sales. You'll get the most value for your home, 708-828-0000. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Willows Academy, Senior Helpers of Naperville, and by the Illinois Family Institute.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you...
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
The socialists who want to move into the White House have a lot of plans for your money. One of them is to control the price of food, and this is just the start. Could 401ks and IRAs be next on their agenda? It might sound far-fetched, but so did price fixing just months ago. Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here. If you've spent decades building your nest egg, you can act now to stop your savings from falling into the hands of the socialists. It's why Americans are turning to gold, the ultimate safe haven in uncertain times. To see how easy it is to diversify your retirement with gold, get a free info kit from my friends at Birch Gold by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. Birch Gold makes it easy to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait any longer. Protect your financial future now. Text PROTECT to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold, the only gold company I trust.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
Balance of nature. Fruits and veggie supplements are packed with 31 frightfully good whole fruit and vegetable ingredients. Our blends help maintain your overall well-being. From the deep red cranberry to the rustic green cabbage, our special formula is no trick. Dare to discover the magical blends within. Open and sprinkle our fruits supplement powder into your cauldron brew, aka morning smoothie, or add our veggie supplement powder to your spooktacular concoction. Soup, we mean soup. This Halloween, treat yourself to a potion of wellness that's wickedly good with balance of nature.
Go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. And get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
When it's time to consider new windows, siding, and doors for your home, you need to look no further. Sebastian Gorka here to tell you about Valdicas. Valdicas has been the trusted name chosen by thousands of homeowners, and they should be your number one choice too. But what's really behind the name Valdicas? Over 25 years of a team dedicated to providing you with the best customer service experience and products that truly bring value to your home. They are a Pella Platinum Elite Status certified contractor for a reason. They have an A+ rating with the BBB, as well as high ratings and positive reviews on both Google and Houzz. Schedule your free in-house consultation at valdicas.com before year end and get 50% off windows, siding, and doors. You heard me correct. 50% off. Valid on product purchase only. Use promo code GORKA24. Don't wait. Book today at valdicas.com for the best in class. It's Valdicas.
7:09 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this look at the roads, a service of Trimlight Chicago. You have to see it to believe it. Amazing, customizable, and permanent holiday and year-round accent lighting for the exterior of your home or business. It's not too late to book your holiday installation, but do it today with Trimlight Chicago. Outbound Eden's a mess right now at Winnetka Road. Got solid traffic from Old Orchard on in. 2 cars have gotten into an accident and then rolled over into the ditch. A large emergency response is on the scene. It's an hour 20 from O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange on the inbound Kennedy. Due to an earlier accident on the outbound side between Montrose and Sayre, you've got big delays. And an accident on the right shoulder on the inbound Ike right at North Avenue. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Today, partly sunny, breezy, warm day. A shower can't be ruled out. Our high today, 75. Partly cloudy for tonight, low 56. Breezy tomorrow morning, cooler, some clouds and sun, the high 62. Partly sunny, nice day Thursday, the high 65. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
57 at O'Hare, 49 in Aurora, and 46 in Morris. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Kamala Harris dusted off the former Mrs. Arnold Schwarzenegger to moderate a little town hall gathering she had. Liz Cheney also prominently featured.
She was with her 2 besties.
This was a fun moment. Maria Shriver on whether or not Kamala will be taking any questions from the audience.
You're not, unfortunately. We have some predetermined questions, and hopefully I'll be able to ask some of the questions that might be in your head. I hope so.
Who needs your own mind when you have Maria Shriver thinking for you? That's great. Yeah, we've got some scripted questions, and then, I'll fill in the blanks if Kamala struggles even with the pre-scripted questions. So that's where that operation is at. Harry Enton, the data reporter for CNN. Let's go ahead and keep using CNN's numbers. Listen to CNN break down the race for us. Harry Enton describing to a disappointed news desk that Trump is significantly more popular as we stand here today, or yesterday, than he was at the same point in 2020 or 2016. And that probably is a problem for Kamala.
I think there are a lot of folks, such as myself, who think that Donald Trump's unpopularity is baked in. But here's the deal. If you believe that Donald Trump has somehow become less popular over time, let me change your mind about that. In fact, he is more popular at this point in the campaign than he was at this point in the 2020 campaign or the 2016 campaign. Look, he's still underwater, right, with a negative 9-point net favorability rating. But that is higher than he was in 2020 at minus 12 points when he nearly won. And it is way higher than the minus 27 net favorability back in 2016 when he did win. So I think there's this real question in Kamala Harris's mind, in the campaign's mind, why is Trump more popular now than he was at this point in 2020 and 2016? And I think that is why you're seeing the sharpening attacks, because they want to put him back down to here, or even there's no way that they're necessarily going to back down to here, but they want to make Trump more unpopular than he is right now, because he's more popular now than either point in 2020 or 2016.
And if you don't think that that's real, then you have to explain to yourself why Democrat senators in swing states are going after the Trump vote. Why Bob Casey, for example, in Pennsylvania is sort of realigning himself as, somebody who shares a lot in common with Donald Trump, even though he's voted in lockstep with Biden, Harris, and Schumer for the previous 4 years. So there's a lot of indications that what Harry Enton is describing is actually what is happening on the ground. For more on this, speaking of being on the ground, Mike Collins is a congressman from Georgia's 10th congressional district, but he is in Northwest Indiana to support our friend Randy Niemeyer running for Congress to try to upset Frank Mervan in that race, as we were discussing with Randy the other week. Representative Collins, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning. Great to be on with you.
So, well, first of all, you and Randy, this was sort of interesting. You share sort of a similar professional background. You're both in the trucking business.
Yeah, that's right. I'm second generation in the trucking industry. My wife and I, we started a trucking company a little over 30 years ago, and our sons now run that along with my younger brother and my nephew.
And you know, I mean, the sort of the sensibility of Randy, who was was a driver himself for, I think he still is, but I mean, in addition to running his company, but you know, the sensibility of somebody like that with that professional background, as opposed to, you know, having more lawyers and bankers and such in Congress.
No, you're exactly hitting the nail on the head. You know, it's one thing I've been saying. I've never been elected to anything, and I'm, obviously a freshman in Congress. And we've actually picked out 9 people across this country, and that was one of the criteria that I used to pick out, not trucking, but just business background. I think the fact that Rainey and I are both in the most regulated and taxed industry that there is in this country, though, gives us a unique perspective on what the federal government has been doing to businesses out there across this country, and crushing the small entrepreneurship. So, you know, out of 435 people in Congress, I am the only one that operates a trucking company on a daily basis and has a commercial driver's license in my back pocket.
Well, that's it. Well,
CGL,
yeah.
let's go on a convoy.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well,
I love that movie, by the way.
Speaking of convoys, we were just talking about it before you joined us. We have another convoy heading from the southern border of Mexico to our southern border, reportedly some 2,000 strong. So, you know, as we go into Election Day, it seems to me that if we didn't need more emphasis on the issue of border security, then the continued problems of porous borders, open borders, is going to be revisited in at a time when Kamala could not be worse for her.
You know, and to think about that open border, and you know, whether it's gangs, fentanyl, sex trafficking, doesn't matter. You just look at my district, the 10th district of Georgia. That's where Laken Riley was murdered.
Yep.
Brutally murdered. Got her head bashed in by a thug murderess that came across that border. And then you have Kamala Harris, who sits there and can't take any of the onus on being responsible for what's going on down there. That alone ought to get people stirred up enough to make sure that we just flood these polls with Republicans and vote this type of mess out. We have got to get rid of people like her that are just letting these people invade this country. Invade this country because they want them in here, and they want them on the government dole. They are taking yours and my taxpayer dollars, and they are putting these people up. They're busing them around the country, flying them around the country, and giving them new clothes and places to stay just so that they can create a new class of voter to make sure that they stay in power from now on.
Well, how has the death...
There's no other reason to go vote. Use that to go vote.
Yep, the future of our country is at stake. How has the murder of Laken Riley affected the members in your congressional district?
Well, it's still very much raw. You know, you take a young lady that was just out for a jog, and you know, and we hear all this about weapons and Second Amendment and guns. This guy brutally murdered her with a rock. And you don't think that doesn't weigh on people's minds? That's the type of heinous people that we have let. And this guy got pulled over the week before for shoplifting. He got ran out of New York City for committing crimes. But yet we didn't have the ability to contact ICE to get rid of him. And you know, I happen to have a bill out there, it's the Laken Riley Act. It passed through the House with 37 Democrats supporting that thing. We got that thing through the House in record time, and now it's sitting over in the Senate, and they won't take it up. And you talking about some of these folks that are over there hanging their hat on Trump's back now, yeah. But why don't they take up Lake and Riley? Why haven't they even mentioned anything about that? It's because they're not really interested in
Well,
it.
what's their point of
And they're not gonna
contention
take
about
it.
the bill? Why isn't it passing through the Senate?
Well, because you got Chuck Schumer over there running the Senate. He wouldn't want to take that up. That would be admitting that we've got criminal activity that's infiltrated the country. That simple bill, all it states is that if you're a local law enforcement and you pull somebody over and they're an illegal alien in this country and you pull them over for a lesser crime than murder, then you can contact ICE. It just adds theft to the list of things that you can contact. You can contact ICE and they can be picked up and deported. It's not that hard of a bill, and it's a common sense bill, but they're not going to do that because they want to make sure that they keep as many of these illegals coming through as they can.
If Randy is able to win and upset Mervan, and Republicans maintain control of the House and Republicans get control of the Senate, and Trump is in the White House, do you think you have, depending on what the majority looks like, but let's say it's a little bit more substantial than it is right now, do you think you have the fortitude in the caucus to work with the president and whoever the Senate leadership is to do something on the order of the mass deportation program that he's been talking about, starting with people in this country who are convicted violent criminals?
The makeup of the House right now is around 60-65% America First representatives. That means people that were elected from 2016 up until the last election in 22. Those people ran on America First Trump policy agenda. All we need to do is just get a few more good folks in the House of Representatives. And this time around, you won't have to have Trump sitting there signing executive orders. We're going to be sitting there ready to pass bills, pass legislation, put it over in the Senate. We're going to flip that Senate. So Republicans are going to take the Senate back. And then, by God, we'll get things passed into law. I tell people every day, the 119th Congress has got the ability to make history. We will have the ability to change the trajectory of this country because it is going in the wrong direction. It is going to hell in the handbasket as fast as it can get there. We got a chance to stop this thing. And I'm not talking about stop it for 6 months or 2 years, but I'm talking about for generations to get this place back on track to what it used to be. And we're going to get people like Randy in there. He's got a great chance to win. He can win his race. We just got to make sure that Republicans go. We win this thing so that blame big that it can't be rigged.
And what's your feeling about Georgia? I mean, some of the early returns, I don't read too much into this, but voter registration the last week in Pennsylvania favored Republicans. Early voting in North Carolina favors Republicans as of this weekend. It seems in the reporting in Virginia and Georgia as well has been strong early turnout from voters in rural counties. So what's your handle on Georgia? How optimistic are you about Georgia?
Oh, Georgia's been breaking records, on turnouts. And the turnout's been strong. What we need to do is make sure that we continue that turnout. Georgia is not a purple state. Georgia is a red state. We have the House, the Senate, the governor, the lieutenant governor, all constitutional officers. The only thing we don't have is 2 U.S. senators. And we're going to fix that, one of them, in 2 years from now. But we are not a purple state. We just got to make sure that people turn out to vote. And I think with the early numbers, it's doing a couple of things. I think it's demoralizing the Democrats right now because Republicans typically like to stay at home because we don't like election season. But when the rules are the rules, you need to play at them as hard as you can. We need to be chasing absentee ballots to make sure they get back in, and we need to make sure that people understand when those polls are open and to get there and go vote. Go ahead and bank that vote.
Yeah, so Rep. Collins, Mike Collins, who we're speaking with right now on our Turnkey.pro answer line, you're in Indiana supporting Randy Niemeyer. What are you two doing today?
Oh, man, we've got stops, everything from diners in the morning, greeting and meeting. We're stopping at a couple of retirement homes to speak with those folks, and we're knocking doors. I absolutely love to get out across the country and just knock on people's doors and get a pulse of what you actually see when somebody comes to the door to talk to you about this stuff.
Representative Mike Collins, the only member of Congress with a CDL license. I like that. Representative for Georgia's 10th Congressional District in Northwest Indiana today with Randy Niemeyer. He's the Republican against Frank Mervan. So if you're in Lake County, Northwest Indiana, you want to pay attention to Randy Niemeyer and get out and support him as well. Representative Collins, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate y'all's time.
Yeah, have a wonderful day, and hopefully there'll be 2 congressional members with their CDLs. And Mr. Collins, Congressman Collins, joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Or you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
Oh, I've been there. If a member of your family is headed to college soon, paying for college and avoiding long-term student loan debt has never been more challenging. And attorney Ray Kaplan, a Kaplan law firm, is here to help you and your family make informed decisions and plan smarter for college by navigating and understanding all available student loan options. Don't go it alone. Set up your family for financial success. Plan college expenses together with attorney Ray Kaplan at Kaplan Law Firm. Schedule a consultation today by calling 312-294-8989. That's 312-294-8989. Or you can fill out the contact form online at financialrelief.com. That's financialrelief.com, Kaplan Law Firm.
The instability of our economy after this election has many worried, and stocks and bonds could be the first to collapse. Countless Americans are turning to the safest store of wealth in human history to protect their retirement accounts. Physical precious metals. Gold has been a safe haven asset for generations. At Premier Gold, we specialize in helping those with a 401k, IRA, or other types of retirement accounts convert their vulnerable paper assets into physical gold to protect their hard-earned savings. Today, we'd like to send you a free gold election kit to help you decide if this is right for you. Call 606-800-8000 to claim yours. Act before the election to take advantage of the current rollover policies, allowing for a quick and seamless transfer into physical gold or silver. Don't let the outcome of this election influence the fate of your financial future. Call 606-800-8000 now. Premier Gold is not a financial advisor. Please consult with your advisor before investing. Call 606-800-8000.
All right, like many people, did you go to McDonald's yesterday to support President Trump? A lot of people did, and I have to tell you, I didn't get any fruits and vegetables yesterday. So that's where balance of nature comes in. Your body, your heart, and your mind needs some fruits and veggies to be healthy, happy, and energized. And balance of nature is where it's at, those fruits and veggie supplements. 6 capsules a day provides your body, heart, and mind with several servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables. You will love it, and your body, heart, and mind will thank you for it. Order your fruits and veggie supplements today by calling 800-246-8751. Use coupon code CHICAGO to save 35% off your first set and free shipping when you sign up as a new preferred customer. 800-246-8751. Call now or order online at balanceofnature.com and be sure to use coupon code CHICAGO to save 35%.
AM 560, The Answer.
That's White Dude for Harris. You want to hear that White Dude for Harris again?
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah.
Hey, how are y'all doing? All right. My name is Maxine Kirkpatrick. I am a born and bred Michigander, a fellow on the Michigan One campaign, and president of Students for Harris Walls at Wayne State University.
That's White Dude for Harris.
To your brother, I'm gay. You sure? I'm gay.
Yeah.
I like mustaches and muscles. I like to touch butts when they bubble. No, we're not triplets. We are a couple. We're gay. Alexa, play Cher and Madonna, Beyonce and Rihanna, T Swift and Ariana. Girl, I'm gay. You're gay. I'm gay. Play Whitney and Mariah. Celine can take me higher. Gaga is the Messiah. Born this way. I'm gay. Girl, I'm gay. I'm gay. Girl, I'm gay.
It's just the theme music for White Dudes for Harris. I just thought we'd bookend it.
You find that song?
Well, you know.
I like Cher too. Does that make me gay, Dan?
Okay.
Okay.
Coming up at 7:37, we'll turn to all things Illinois policy related with wirepoints.org's Ted Dabrowski, including a Will County board member who has a way to lower your property taxes. You're going to want to hear what board member Coleman from Will County, Natalie Coleman from Will County. Remember that name because you'll remember what she had to say about your property taxes at 7:37.
She has a great solution. Find out after we check in with Mike Scott for Newsroom.
7:31, and we have mostly cloudy skies this morning. Don't look now. Election day exactly 2 weeks away. Vice President Harris and President Trump hitting key swing states where the former president is surging in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, along with North Carolina. Hezbollah and Israel exchanging fire amid an expanding conflict in Lebanon.
Here in Tel Aviv, the sirens went off. People rushed to the shelters. Hezbollah says it launched rockets ahead of U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit here to Israel. Blinken is here to push for a ceasefire and a peace deal. His visit comes after that leak we reported on, which appears to reveal some of the elements of Israel's anticipated strike against Iran. Now, a senior State Department official talks to Fox today about Blinken's agenda, saying in regards to any type of solution in Gaza, it's unclear what the next few weeks will look like because Hamas needs to figure out its own leadership in order to get back to the table.
Jury selection resumes today in the much-publicized subway death trial in New York City of Daniel Penny, the former Marine accused of choking a homeless man to death on a Manhattan subway train. Last May, jury selection all by itself is expected to take 2 weeks. Crane Chicago Business reporting that Chicago's deputy mayor for education is stepping aside. Jen Johnson is leaving during the fight between the Chicago Board of Education, CEO Pedro Martinez, and the mayor's office over direction and funding of the Chicago Public Schools. Johnson claims that she will be on leave for the next several weeks to focus on her health and family. Johnson was formerly the chief of staff at the Chicago Teachers Union. Opening statements resuming today in the racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Democrat Michael Madigan. Graphic crime scene photos were on display during the third day of Richard Allen's trial for allegedly killing Abby Williams and Libby German in February of 2017 in Delphi, Indiana. Blackhawks try to get back in the win column when they host Vancouver at the United Center tonight. The Bears may be shorthanded in the secondary when they take on Washington this weekend. Matt Eberflus confirming safety Jaquan Brisker is still in concussion protocol, while cornerback Kyler Gordon is dealing with a hamstring problem. The news, a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Executive Green Carpet Cleaning, and by Valdecast Windows and Doors. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
It's Reveille. Transparency is a word we hear a lot, especially with regards to government. What we more often see, however, is opacity, the exact opposite of transparency. Recently, this opacity has been most prevalent in Kamala Harris's responses to interview questions, from reducing consumer prices to policies she's proudly advocated for in the past. VP Harris can't help but regurgitate highly practiced nonsense about a supposed middle-class childhood, or deflect by pivoting to a complaint about Trump. This propensity for giving anything but a straight answer has become depressingly common over the years. From various congressional testimonies to talking heads on cable news channels, and now the Democrat nominee for President of the United States, governmental opacity has become the order of the day for many elected officials and their bureaucratic minions. Harris embodies this trend, spewing irrelevant talking points even when tossed softballs by friendly interviewers. This pathological urge to deceive is typical of many political animals. To Harris, spontaneous discussion and straight answers appear to be her kryptonite. Some think it shows a lack of understanding or preparedness. I think that's a dangerous assumption. Kamala Harris has successfully navigated the political landscape with these dishonest tactics for decades. Being dismissed as ignorant is exactly what she wants. It's her bread and butter. She deceives because she cannot afford for the American public to know her honest answers. We should expect this sort of deceit from politicians, but never accept it. With so many incredibly important questions and challenges facing this country, Americans need and deserve a president who doesn't fear honest answers. I'm Jeannie Ives. Check out The Real Story with me Sunday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. and sign up for my newsletter at breakthrough-ideas.com.
Longing for thick, healthy, gorgeous hair? Say goodbye to shedding, thin, and dull hair, and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume from New Nordic.
7:36. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee. A Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations. It's hot air roasted locally, cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. Outbound Edens, you've got an accident blocking a left-hand lane at Old Orchard and an accident blocking a right-hand lane outbound at Winnetka Road, making for tough sledding. Almost an hour outbound to Lake Cook Road this morning. Inbound Kennedy, 90 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Dan Ryan, accident cleared in the locals outbound right at the Chinatown feeder. Tri-State, you're jammed up as you travel northbound between the Cermak Toll and the Ike, and delays on the Jane Addams eastbound between Meacham and Route 53. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Partly sunny, breezy and warm. A shower can't be ruled out. High 75. Tonight, partly cloudy and 56. Mostly cloudy, 55 right now. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois. You can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
That theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with Ted Dabrowski, president of WirePoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Before we get to Ted, I want to introduce you to Natalie Coleman. She is a board member, Will County Board. Mm-hmm. She has been there, I guess, 4 years, and the issue of continuing to spend more money on critical services that the county provides by raising property taxes on the county's residents was being debated by the board. And Natalie Coleman had this to say.
Some people have been promoting on social media that they are specifically responsible for cutting taxes in Will County, and I just think it's very sad that we are lying to people. The other piece is we're talking about people who are fed up with paying property taxes. I've been paying property taxes for 12 years. If it comes a point in time where I couldn't afford that, I'm going to downsize. And that might be the option for some people. But the option for others who are currently...
So if you can't afford your property tax on your house, well, then sell your house and downsize to a home that you can afford. And then when the property taxes spiral that house and you can't afford that house anymore, then sell it again at a loss. And buy a house that you can't afford. Just keep buying properties, having the government liquidate their value through increased property taxes, selling them at a loss, and work your way down into one of the Will County government's local shelters.
So, I mean, the irony, though, she's telling residents to downsize if they can't afford the rising property taxes while she's at a board meeting voting to raise property taxes yet again. Oh, she's a wonderful, great advice. Now, that is somebody... Remember her name, and come election time, you do not vote for that person.
Ted Dabrowski, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, guys.
It's a novel. It's a novel approach to property tax relief.
Well, it's not so novel, I guess, right? If you look at the outmigration of people leaving Illinois, that's what a lot of people do. It's funny. They're not even downsizing when they move to other states. Some of them are selling to get out of this property tax mess. They're buying, even in Indiana, bigger houses, better services, and a lower property tax bill. So, this shows you how disconnected people are in our government. Once they get there, they like what they've got, and they just poo-poo on what ordinary people go through. And we've talked about this a lot, just nearby, right? In South Cook County, you've got those massive property tax hikes and collapsing home values. It's a real struggle for people, and here she is ignoring it.
Well, our friend Raquel Mitchell, who is also on the board, pushed back against Natalie Coleman talking about what she said. The idea that our taxpayers should downsize their lifestyles and that the government doesn't have to downsize its spending is unconscionable. So there are some sensible people on the Will County board, Natalie Coleman not being one of them, but it's also a reflection of the larger mental challenges with the electorate because Natalie Coleman didn't get there by herself. Somebody put her there.
Well, thanks to having somebody like Raquel to push back. But this whole thing, making people downsize their lives, right? Not as Raquel Mitchell says, right? Not just downsize your house, but you have to downsize your lifestyle. That's so that the government can keep spending more and more and more. And that's what we've seen, right? It's not like we've had to raise taxes because we need it. I mean, we're raising taxes all the time to the max, to the point where our government has gotten so large. And you were talking about this earlier. Our government's gotten so large, and yet it becomes increasingly unresponsive to the people. It gets bigger and bigger, and yet the services get worse and worse.
Well, but
and that's
right,
because
they're
taking care of themselves, not the people.
Well, and because there's no political consequences for it. I mean, this is like fundamentally a philosophical decision, whether the people exist for government or government exists for the people. And the culture in Illinois is that people exist for the government. You are spare parts. You are to bow in service to the government. And as Natalie Coleman nicely said, if that means you have to take less, then you have to take less because it is government first. That should be the slogan. It should be the slogan of Pritzker and the new Bolshevik Party here is government first. This is government centric. All roads lead to government. All focus needs to be on government.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they never flipped that on Trump and went to government first. You're right, because it fits perfectly, right? It's always the case, and
if you had a Republican Party, somebody might be able to make that argument. Yeah, might go through a branding exercise there.
Yeah. So So
well, I was you had mentioned the outmigration numbers, and of course, property tax is a proximate cause of some of it. But and we mentioned them earlier in the week. Well, yesterday, I guess. But go through them, particularly because, again, Jelly Belly's response and the response of the party, because they can get away with it, is no, we're not losing residents. No, we're not losing population. We're growing.
Yes, phenomenal. There's a conference on pensions last week, and Andy Monar, who's one of the spokesmen for Pritzker, was quick to correct somebody saying, no, there is no population loss in Illinois. We are growing. It's the most people we've ever had. And he's saying this even as the census estimates for the last 3 years have said that Illinois has lost 240,000 people, 100,000, 100,000, and then 30,000. And we got new numbers out just the other day. We posted them, I think it was yesterday or Friday. 93,000 people on net 2023 left Illinois for other states. So we're the third worst loser of people. And this thing continues, right, where more people are moving out than moving in. And, it backs up everything that we hear from the IRS data. The new data was the census data. It backs up what the IRS data says, the moving ban stuff says. And yet, Governor Pritzker and his team are going to keep saying that Illinois is not shrinking. And, we keep saying if you don't acknowledge the problem that you're losing people, then you don't fix the problems. So it's better to hide them.
It's just more beautiful lies. And he knows it, too. You can even ask him, like, well, we lost a congressional seat. Well, that's not true. And they lie to your face, and they lie to their voters because they just don't care. I wanted to ask you about vision. Sorry, go on. Yep.
No, you just make a good point that even if you want to give it to Pritzker, we're not losing population. Maybe we're just kind of staying still. Everybody else is growing, and so that means we're shrinking, right? And that means we have less representatives in Congress. We used to be 27. Now we have 17, and we're on our way down to 15. So it's an ugly thing unless you just think it's good that we have less representation in Illinois because of our bad policies.
Yeah, but they'll fill it with illegals. They're busing them in. All right, are you familiar, Ted, with Vision Zero? It's a three-pronged approach to traffic safety, don't you know? And the person behind it is Alderman Daniel Espada. It passed committee yesterday, and now he's hoping the momentum will continue through the city council.
Hey, this is Alderman Daniel Espada. Earlier today, we passed our full Vision Zero legislative package out of committee. This includes an interdepartmental agency to bring more equity and transparency to enforcement, a statutory lowering of Chicago's speed limit from 30 to 25 miles per hour, and a pilot around resident-based reporting of bus and bike lane blockages. All of these items together, when they pass the full city council, will put us on a path towards a safer, healthier, more sustainable Chicago. I'm so grateful.
What do you think?
I think he's a white dude for Harris.
Jeez. I mean, this is, again, government's trying to do, especially when I hear the word equity as part of the plan, that already spells trouble. Here they are focused on getting the speed limit from 30 to 25 when they've got the most murders in the country, when we've talked about how kids can't read at their schools, right? Just a fifth of kids can read. Focused on the wrong things. And, maybe it's the right things for them, right? More government intervention, more government rules, more government power.
More government fines, those red light cameras then.
Yeah,
more.
exactly.
I mean, the speed cameras and stuff.
Well, yeah,
more money.
Fines and fees will go up if you speed also, and more red light cameras and speed cameras. But resident-based reporting. So they're asking residents to have, get their cell phones ready, and then there's going to be a special place where you could text a picture of a bus or bike lane obstruction to the parties that be, and I don't know what's going to happen from that, but that sounds like a really good idea, doesn't it?
It sounds a little bit like some other times we've heard about where people start telling on each other.
Yeah,
and that never leads to good things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a population that is ripe for lives of others sort of culture. Unless at least unless it pertains to something that's important. Chicago Public Schools, this piece that you did, because BLM Brandon is, had this contretemps with the CEO there, Pedro Martinez, over short-term borrowing, payday loan stores type borrowing to be able to finance the new CTU contract. But this report you did on the 20 most empty schools in CPS is sort of interesting, particularly with the price tags associated.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. We've covered this for about 6 years, and it's gotten a lot of attention. But it's gotten renewed attention now, especially with a $1 billion city budget deficit coming up next year, and CPS with a similar $1 billion problem. And here you have these empty schools, and we've talked about it a lot. But you got Douglas High School, capacity for 900 kids, and it's only got 35 kids in the school. That's 4%. It's got 22 staff members. Right, so you got 22 employee staff members for 35 students. It's almost a 1-to-1. You should have perfect reading scores and perfect math scores at that school. Instead, only it's 0% of kids can read there. Fascinating, and they're spending $68,000 per kid in 2023. So you've got 20 of these like that, and then you've got a whole bunch more, and yet Johnson had the gall when he was challenged. And it's really nice to see the press challenge him right now because they're challenging him. I wish it'd be a little harder, but they're challenging him. And they asked him about these empty schools, and he said, "Look, I'm not going to look at the number of kids in the schools to determine how much I invest in those schools." And that, of course, makes him sound insane, which is what people need to hear because he has no plans to fix this stuff.
You know what I hear? You know, I hear you saying?
What?
I hear you saying that a black man should be able to go watch the Bears in London. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, what
and
came of that meeting? I mean, what came of, did he meet with anybody? Because I don't know if he knew who he was meeting with.
I didn't see much reported, but I did hear earlier that he brought back a couple jobs from something, but I don't know.
They were coming here anyway, by the way.
But don't forget Pritzker. Pritzker was in Japan, so don't mess with it. Yeah.
And what do we have to show for that? Ooh, you big boy. I mean, is that me doing my? It's me doing my Judge Ito doing. Wait, no, Al D'Amato doing Judge Ito. That's my. All right. Ted Dabrowski. This is going off the rails. Ted Dabrowski, President Wirepoints, wirepoints.org. Thanks for joining us as always.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Jason Zenger, owner of Zenger's Industrial Supply and host of the Making Chips podcast, and a proud customer of Signature Bank. Through rapid growth, acquisitions of competitors, and taking over from the previous generation, Signature Bank was there with us every step of the way. Recently, the team introduced us to FinRails AP, their proprietary system for accounts payable automation. Not only did FinRails AP help us to reduce costs and create efficiencies, but it also helped minimize fraud risk. Now, our company can invest time into what we do best, supplying industrial products, metalworking tooling, contractor tools, and safety supplies to those who make, build, and create great things for our country.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
All right, if you're just waking up, wondering how are you feeling? How are your knees? How's your joint pain in your hip, your back, your elbows, your shoulder? Well, if you're tired of taking steroid shots over and over, maybe daily doses of medications, because those are just Band-Aids for the pain, may we suggest QC Kinetics, real lasting relief? And there's thousands of patients who will tell you it is possible. With our good friends at QC Kinetics, people here in Chicago are reducing the inflammation, getting mobility back, and most importantly, getting their lives back. We have another beautiful day, a beautiful October day, a high of 75 degrees. Why can't you get out there and enjoy it? So end your joint pain now with cutting-edge treatments that require no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. It is developed by medical professionals and under the leadership now of Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, a former orthopedic surgeon and a pioneer in clinical regenerative medicine. It's cellular therapies, folks, that use your own body's healing properties, concentrated and carefully placed into your achy joint. The choice is yours. You could continue with the steroids and daily medications or the constant pain. You could pursue surgery with a long recovery that may or may not work, or you could see if you're a candidate for regenerative treatments. Find out with your free consultation at QC Kinetics. New locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. Saturday appointments available, 312-809-5955. That is the number to call. Don't wait any longer. Don't put it off another day. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
Come on with this, people. Move it!
Did you really think you could make that company deliver yourself?
Oh, I cannot handle any more traffic.
You could be getting much more done at your place of business.
I've wasted 45 minutes and now this place is gonna close.
Time is money. Let Quick Delivery Service take on the traffic hassle for you. They'll deliver almost anything, from large pallets of materials to important documents, or both. No forms, no labels, no scanning. Just tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going, they'll pick it up, and get it to your destination quickly. Your cargo delivery is tracked in real time with GPS. Notifications are delivered right to your inbox. Visit QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. Or you can deliver like this.
Seriously, another train?
Or get your delivery there on time with QuickDelivery.com. Or call 847-534-2244. 847-534-2244.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. Last week, rallygoers at a Wisconsin rally proclaimed Jesus is Lord. Vice President Kamala Harris responded,
"Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally."
Liberal Supreme Court Justice William O. Douglas once wrote, "We Americans are a religious people whose institutions presuppose a supreme being." Alexis de Tocqueville put it that religion is the first of our political institutions. Today, well over two-thirds of our country still identifies as Christian. Thank God. Curious then, one of the major two parties in America has fielded a candidate for president in Kamala Harris who is so very anti-Christian. Perhaps that's the Democratic Party now, given its efforts to suppress so much religious expression, to go after religious charities and public outreach. In the past week, Kamala Harris also deliberately shunned the Al Smith dinner while mailing in a video mocking Catholicism. It's all a new level of Judeo-Christian insult. We should all be watching and listening to and taking this anti-Christianity seriously. I'm Seth Leibson.
You know, the big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk. Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, we'll talk to Free Press investigative reporter Maddie Rowley about the border, specifically the spike in human trafficking, as well as the nonprofits. It's not just Catholic charities. The nonprofits making millions off of the open borders. That's Maddie Rowley at 8:08.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom once again. Here is Mike Scott.
Chicago closing designated migrant shelters by year's end. A trial underway for a man charged in the murder of an NU grad student. Blackhawks host the Canucks tonight while the Bulls prep for New Orleans. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
People can go to the polls in 4 more states today. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and it's 2 weeks before the election.
Early voting is underway, so you know what you have to do.
Former President Trump in North Carolina, 15 million Americans have voted already.
We want a landslide that is too big to rig. Too big to rig.
Now, his challenges to the 2020 results are the reason a now anti-Trump Republican is campaigning for Vice President Harris. Former Congresswoman Liz Cheney was on stage with Harris in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania.
It's not just us predicting how he will act. We watched what he did after the last election. We watched what he did on January 6th.
Now, there are no Harris public events today. The former president will return to North Carolina for a rally tonight after a meeting with Latino leaders in Miami.
The former president is now leading the VP by 11 points with Latino voters, according to a new USA Today and Suffolk University poll. That same poll is showing Harris's support among black voters is reaching historic lows for a Democratic presidential nominee, with just 72% of likely black voters supporting the vice president.
That's Fox's Brooks Singman. The former president posted on Truth Social, "We must find the leaker," suggesting someone from the Defense Department let American intelligence get out, potentially compromising Israel.
Highly sensitive U.S. intelligence documents detailing potential Israeli retaliatory strikes on Iran appeared online.
Are we concerned? We are very concerned. We are.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre would not comment on specifics about the documents. She says there is an investigation how the classified material popped up online.
And that's Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is in Israel, his 11th visit since the war broke out in Gaza. But as he pushes for ceasefire and hostage release, it's unclear who's in charge of Hamas and if they can hold any talks on a deal days after Israel killed Hamas's leader in Gaza. America's listening to Fox News.
55 degrees. We'll call it mostly cloudy for now, but there are streaks of sunshine this morning at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Crane Chicago Business is reporting that Chicago's deputy mayor for education is stepping aside. Jen Johnson is leaving during the fight between the Chicago Board of Education, CPS CEO Pedro Martinez, and the mayor's office over direction and funding of Chicago public schools. Johnson claims she will be on leave for the next several weeks to focus on her health and family. Johnson was formerly chief of staff at the Chicago Teachers Union. Opening statements resuming today in the racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. As opening statements began yesterday, prosecutors said Madigan used his status to betray the public trust. At an unrelated event Monday, Governor J.B. Pritzker tried to blunt the impact the trial could have on Democrats statewide.
Discussion of corruption by some elected officials, it hurts people on both sides of the aisle because, as you know, there's corruption that's occurred in both parties.
Madigan's attorneys urging the jury to focus on what his intentions were and not what someone said on wiretaps. Chicago sports, Blackhawks take on Vancouver at the United Center tonight. The news a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Overpaying for dental implants is over. If you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield, PPO, or FEP, you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Learn more and check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. 8:03, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
General Motors is making more money and selling more cars and trucks. Its earnings and revenue top forecasts in the summer quarter, and GM is optimistic about this year despite losing money in China. CEO Mary Barra says GM was able to charge more for its cars than the average. It was only offering modest discounts, and GM is on track to meet its profit target for electric vehicles this year. Kimberly-Clark sales were disappointing in the summer quarter. Sales of tissues and personal care products declined. Kimberly-Clark makes Scott Cottonelle, Kleenex, Huggies, and many other brands. Its earnings did top forecasts. Verizon is reporting a mixed quarter, even though it added more wireless customers with a monthly bill. The stock is losing ground. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by JeffBuysYourHouse.com and by the Kaplan Law Firm.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
The socialists who want to move into the White House have a lot of plans for your money. One of them is to control the price of food, and this is just the start. Could 401ks and IRAs be next on their agenda? It might sound far-fetched, but so did price fixing just months ago. Hi, Donald Trump Jr. here. If you've spent decades building your nest egg, you can act now to stop your savings from falling into the hands of the socialists. It's why Americans are turning to gold, the ultimate safe haven in uncertain times. To see how easy it is to diversify your retirement with gold, get a free info kit from my friends at Birch Gold by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. Birch Gold makes it easy to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold while preserving your tax advantage status. Don't wait any longer. Protect your financial future now. Text PROTECT to the number 989898 for your free info kit from Birch Gold, the only gold company I trust.
Paid for by Birch Gold Group.
It's 8:07, and let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Trim Light Chicago. You've got to see it to believe it. Amazing, customizable, and permanent holiday and year-round accent lighting for the exterior of your home or business. It's not too late to book your holiday installation, but do it today with Trim Light Chicago. Tri-State this morning, slow traffic on the ramp to the outbound Ike, jamming things up from the Ike back to Cermak this morning. Jane Addams, the toll road eastbound, jams up into Route 53 with a slow ramp to Route 53 there. The Reagan I-88 slow between Roosevelt and the Tri-State. Route 53 stop and go northbound between the Adams Toll Road, I-90, and Kirchhoff. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Partly sunny, breezy, warm day today. Can't rule out a shower. High today 75. Partly cloudy tonight, low 56. Breezy tomorrow morning. Cooler, some clouds and sun. High 62. Partly sunny, nice day Thursday. The high 65. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
55 at O'Hare and 48 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This statement from Mark Cuban is going to go down as one of the dumbest statements of this cycle, maybe any cycle. And that's saying something, because there's a lot of dumb things that have been said and will continue to be. But this was Cuban freelancing, explaining the choice that Biden and Harris made to reverse all of Trump's executive orders in the opening days of their administration and effectively open the borders.
Yeah. I thought their hearts were too big when Joe came into office, that they didn't know how many people would cross the border, and it got away from them. But they figured it out. They learned.
Oh, my God. 10 million, maybe more here.
The hearts were too big. They didn't know. They were babes in the wood when they came into office. Kamala Harris is a sitting United States senator. Joe Biden had been in public office for the better part of half a century, and they had no idea what might come to pass if they invited the world to come at their leisure and on their own terms. They had no idea. Is that credible? We talked about this a little bit last week. One of the consequences of this, just under the umbrella of criminal activity. Obviously, we have high-profile murders that we've been discussing for several weeks now. But in addition to that, one other aspect is just the sex trafficking. And this piece we talked about last week that Madeline Rowley wrote for the Free Press. The statement that just sticks with me is the statement that the head of Shepherd's Watch, which is an anti-sex trafficking nonprofit, said that if I wanted a girl, I could get a girl in 15 minutes.
It's like ordering a pizza.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit earlier in the show now, and I'm not saying this is the only outfit, but one of the outfits that is engaged in this, Tren de Aragua, the international gang in Venezuela, how they're set up in Juarez, Mexico. Daily Mail was reporting this, set up in Juarez, Mexico, and they have all these outposts running through Texas, east to Miami and north to small town Wisconsin. It's really quite something. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by that aforesaid investigative journalist. Maddie Rowley is an investigative reporter for the Free Press. She joins us now. Maddie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
So, one of the things in your piece too, talking about sex trafficking, was the assessment by these leaders of nonprofits that work in this space to try to combat sex trafficking operations, is that they estimate that it's increased threefold under Biden and Harris, right?
That's correct. And, it's actually not an estimation. I FOIA'd the federal government for what are called child eligibility letters. And these are letters given by the government to foreign national children who have been trafficked, whether that's trafficked in their countries of origin, trafficked on the way to the United States, or trafficked within the U.S. That includes labor and sex trafficking. Often it could be both. A lot of these kids are what's called cross-victimized. So the number of child eligibility letters that were given to children since the Trump administration have tripled under Biden, with that number topping 2,200 child eligibility letters given in 2022. The numbers for 2023 are still being counted. But, that's a huge increase. And, 10 million people have illegal immigrants have crossed the border. So unfortunately, that number is not too surprising.
So tell us how it works. I mean, what's their modus operandi?
In terms of the government or
No, the many traffickers from, Mexico or El Salvador or Cuba or Venezuela.
So, I mean, this is a business for them, especially when we're talking, Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, which Dan just mentioned. Human trafficking is a business. What happens is, in a lot of the cases that I researched, they will bring and smuggle women and children across the border for a fee, promising them, jobs and education, etc., and only to turn around and force them into prostitution to pay off their debt. There was one case that there was a sex trafficking ring, a Venezuelan sex trafficking ring, Tren de Aragua, busted in Baton Rouge. And the victim they rescued was working on paying off a $30,000 debt.
Right, and the other thing too, I mean, just in terms of the exploitation of migrants as well, with the sex trafficking. This was mentioned by Grady Judd, the Polk County Sheriff, when he announced a big sting operation and a bunch of arrests, 157 arrests last week, that included a couple of dozen illegal immigrants. And he made the point too, which is an important one, that some of it is the promise of easy money. Some of it is paying off a coyote or paying off some debt. And some of it is like, forcible, like you're going to do this or we're going to, kill your family back in your home country.
Exactly. And that's exactly right. There was one case where the police actually rescued a victim and she chose to stay and continue being trafficked because she was so afraid. And she had been threatened by her traffickers that they would kill her family back in Venezuela, her country of origin. So, these people are coerced, they're scared, they don't know how to leave their situations. And that's why I firmly believe that the child eligibility numbers, for example, from 2022, the 2,200 letters that were given up, that number is low. That's just the number of kids who were able to escape their traffickers. There have been 500,000 kids who have crossed the border unaccompanied since 2021. 32,000 of whom ICE reported did not show up for their court dates. So where are the kids? That's another question. And a lot of these kids have unfortunately fallen through the cracks. I think that's something else that's important here is that when I was speaking to an NGO who works with these kids who have been trafficked, a lot of the times these kids, falls to the state to take care of them, because once they leave the federal government's care, they're no longer the federal government's responsibility, and they are now the state's responsibility.
They had a record number at 57 crossed the other day into, I believe it was California, with unaccompanied minors. What is the process? Where do they go from there?
So when an unaccompanied child crosses the border, they are then processed, and they are under the Office of Refugee and Resettlement care. The Office of Refugee and Resettlement contracts with a number of NGOs or non-governmental organizations that run large shelters all throughout the U.S. So these kids are then brought to one of these shelters where they stay until their quote-unquote sponsor can be vetted. Sometimes, they say oftentimes the sponsor is a family member or a friend, meaning they're let go and given to a family member or friend. But many times they are handed over to someone they do not know at all. These are called Category 3 sponsors, and the government is charged with vetting these sponsors, specifically the Office of Refugee and Resettlement. I think what's very important to understand here is the Office of Refugee and Resettlement is not a law enforcement agency. So we recently have a government watchdog report saying that of a sample of 343 unaccompanied children, they found that 19% of them were handed over to sponsors who were still waiting for their FBI fingerprints to come back. So this just proves that the government and the Office of Refugee and Resettlement is not doing a good job vetting the sponsors for these kids. And that leads me to speaking to an immigration lawyer, and like I said, a woman who works at one of these NGOs with these trafficked kids, who had told me that, these kids sponsors are trafficking them, and they're also trafficked by other adults living in the home with that sponsor.
Right. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. It shouldn't surprise us with respect to what you said about vetting. I mean, look at what we just saw last week with the Afghan national who's a CIA contracted security guard in Afghanistan, and they said they vetted him. They didn't vet him, and then he gets arrested, allegedly cooking up a terrorist plot on election day. So I mean, all of this vetting, we're vetting people, and we have these processes and protocols in place. I mean, it's clear that they either don't have the capacity or the interest to deal with the volume of people that they have effectively invited in.
That's correct. I mean, just the sheer volume. Republican Senator Grassley has worked very hard on the issue of unaccompanied minors and the Office of Refugee and Resettlement. He started working on this issue back in 2014 when 57,000 unaccompanied kids crossed the border. And a decade ago, he was sounding the alarm that the system was completely overrun, and even back then they weren't vetting properly. So imagine when in 2023, 130,000 unaccompanied children crossed the border, what a strain is put on the system at that point. So, I mean, yeah.
And that report from earlier in the year about 85,000 unaccompanied minors who had just been sort of lost by the federal government. What are we to understand about that? I mean, how does that work if you're in the Office of Refugee Resettlement and then you're handed over, you're in a shelter, you're handed over to a sponsor, or maybe you're handed over to a state agency if you're no longer, like you said, in the federal government's care. How is it that many kids can be just lost, quote unquote?
Well, once a child leaves the Office of Refugee and Resettlement run shelter, the ORR is supposed to follow up after 30 days to, make sure that child is, embedded within their community, enrolled in school, et cetera. And they found that they couldn't reach 85,000 kids after 30 days. It's not so shocking. These sponsors aren't being vetted, so these kids could be anywhere. Through my reporting, I found that often children did not stay with the sponsor that they were released to. They move all throughout the U.S. to live with different people. So, I mean, the fact that 85,000 kids have gone missing is certainly concerning. But again, at that point, it falls to the states, and we have to wonder how many of these kids are within the CPS system, how many of them are in foster care, and we have to ask ourselves where they are, and the federal government does not know.
Mm-hmm. And then at the state level, you're dealing with agencies that are notoriously bad at sort of the same type of work, like DCFS in the state of Illinois. So I don't know how much help that is. The nonprofits that you mentioned a couple of times, you did a piece earlier over the summer about the nonprofits that are making millions off of billions off of resettling illegal immigrants. Can you provide some more detail on that and who these nonprofits are?
Sure. So for that piece, I mostly focus on what we were talking about, the NGOs that are in charge of sheltering these unaccompanied children who cross the border. But as you said, there are other dozen more NGOs who are in charge of resettling them all throughout the county. So sheltering and resettling are two different things, but the same vein. And what I found was that when you look into how much money the federal government is granting these nonprofits to shelter these kids, and you compare, as the number of millions and to total billions have gone up, I decided to look at the salaries of their CEOs and C-suite executives, only to find that, for example, the CEO of Southwest Key Programs, which is one of the main sheltering NGOs that the OR contracts with, is making over $1 million a year. There was another one that is in charge of resettling Global Refuge, and she's making well over $500,000 a year. So as the number of, as the amount that they were given from the government went up, so did their salaries. And I think it's important really quickly to note here that the Department of Justice has recently sued Southwest Key Programs because of all the reports of sexual abuse of employees sexually abusing the unaccompanied children. So, and they are still, getting money from the federal government. And this is something that Senator Grassley has tried to stop and unfortunately has been unsuccessful doing.
Maddie Rowley is investigative reporter for the Free Press. Great work you've been doing on this. Really interesting. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. For the first time ever, you'll get a standard classic MyPillow for wholesale prices, only $14.88. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer their entire classic collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $18.88. Upgrade to king-size for only $1 more. Get the body pillows for $29.88 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.88. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever and receive free shipping on orders over $75. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88. They have never been offered this low before. They're limited quantities at this price, so the limit is going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY to get the standard MyPillow for only $14.88, the lowest price ever.
Early voting in downtown Chicago is now open through Election Day on November 5th. You can now go to the Chicago Voting Super Site at 191 North Clark or board offices at 69 West Washington Street on the 6th floor to vote. Early voting in all 50 wards of Chicago begins Monday, October 21st at 9 a.m. Any voter can vote at any early voting site, no matter where they live in the city. Same-day registration is available at all early voting sites. Just bring 2 forms of ID, one with your current address. Go to chicagoelections.gov for more information.
The instability of our economy after this election has many worried, and stocks and bonds could be the first to collapse. Countless Americans are turning to the safest store of wealth in human history to protect their retirement accounts. Physical precious metals. Gold has been a safe haven asset for generations. At Premier Gold, we specialize in helping those with a 401k, IRA, or other types of retirement accounts convert their vulnerable paper assets into physical gold to protect their hard-earned savings. Today, we'd like to send you a free gold election kit to help you decide if this is right for you. Call 606-800-8000 to claim yours. Act before the election to take advantage of the current rollover policies, allowing for a quick and seamless transfer into physical gold or silver. Don't let the outcome of this election influence the fate of your financial future. Call 606-800-8000 now. Premier Gold is not a financial advisor. Please consult with your advisor before investing. Call 606-800-8000.
Protecting and growing your retirement assets can be complicated. From asset and legacy protection to retirement income and extended care, you need a plan. Mark Kohler, host of Retirement and Income Radio, heard Sundays at 11 a.m., helps retirees in or near retirement protect their accounts from market volatility. Mark can help you create lifetime guaranteed inflation-hedged income. Call Mark today at 844-619-SAFE. That's 844-619-7233. And listen this Sunday at 11 a.m. to Retirement and Income Radio.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Hugh Hewitt weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, followed by Mike Gallagher at 9. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
Dennis Prager here. Join me on an unforgettable cruise to the Caribbean this November. We'll cruise to the vibrant islands of Half Moon Cay, Curacao, Bonaire, Turks and Caicos, and much more. We'll be joined by special guest Sean McDowell, and we'll both be sharing insights into current events in a way I hope energizes and challenges you. Secure your spot before space runs out by calling 855-565-5519 or book online at pragercruise.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning. Remy, the Weird Al Yankovic, the libertarian Weird Al Yankovic, Remy over at Reason Magazine, has a new parody song out. Pretty good. You remember that John Michael Montgomery classic from the 90s, Sold, the Grundy County auction incident? You'll remember when you
I'll
hear
remember.
the riff. Well, Remy has, and this is appropriate with the big CPS school board elections here and just what's going on at the schools, generally speaking. Remy's offering is the Grundy County School Board incident.
Well, I went down to the Grundy County School Board.
Illiteracy is at an all-time high.
Because I had questions I just had to ask.
Is that what that says?
Our recent graduates, we wish they knew more. So I figured I'd ask questions about that. But they said, hey, little matey, what you think of the sign? I'd give anything to add some DI. Got too many Asian kids, can't we send some home? Well, I've never seen anyone looking so white. Man, we gotta have a day off for to alive. I'll show you learning's what we hear up home. Little girl, what is 2 + 4? Maybe 8, maybe 9, maybe 10, oh no. We got 20 pronouns, half days, no ties. Well, I'm about to bid my chart goodbye.
Can we get some plexiglass here?
Well, school board folks were going about a mile a minute.
Self-esteem, victimhood.
They were brainstorming and yelling things out loud.
They can go half the year if they're half Asian.
And old parents there were really getting in it.
Teach your mind.
Well, they just shouted out above the crowd. And they said, hey, pretty lady, can I have your awards? Let's start this book that is technically porn. This boardroom isn't on our ancestral home. Well, I've never seen anyone's pay go so high. Do you want a new name from your parents? Will hide. I'm switching schools, you can't with us. How many laptops do you get 5-year-olds? Maybe 8, maybe 9, maybe 10, oh no. We'll take March 10th, May 18th, Juneteenth. What the heck, bid the month goodbye. Well, things got all political, they seem to more these days. Maybe math class should be for math, your heart is full of hate. And they said, hey, county students, can you solve for X?
Finally.
Essential racism, because we're having a test. Maybe list more things they should be anxious about.
How is that gonna help?
Sure, it's been 200 years for those poor Comanches. This is a school or depression factory. I still can't switch, you can't with us. Here's many bathrooms should we build here, Joe? Maybe 8, no, it's 9. How about 10, bigot? We got 40 days off, 3 masks this sky. Well, I'm about to bid this town goodbye.
I mean, he's really good. He is really good. And to fully appreciate, you should go on. I'll tweet it out, but go on and read the lyrics too, because he's just impeccable. The lyrics are always good. His performances are good. I mean, he's fun with the point.
And remember, we met him during COVID.
Remy.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Did a good job parodying what was our reality. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:38, I'll be joined by Spencer Clavin, and we'll start with those kids from Wisconsin that believed in Jesus and were at the wrong rally when they showed up to Kamala's. We'll start there at 8:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
It's 8:32. Don't look now. Election days, 2 weeks from today. Vice President Harris and former President Trump hitting key swing states. Harris stumping in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. The former president in North Carolina. A teen is in custody following the shooting deaths of 5 at a home in Washington State.
King County, Washington officials say the 5 included 3 young teenagers who were found dead inside a home in Falls City early Monday morning after several people called 911 to report the shooting. Falls City is about 25 miles east of Seattle. Another teen who had been hurt was taken to a Seattle hospital. The teenager in custody could face charges of first or second-degree murder, according to King County Sheriff's officials. A Sheriff's Department spokesperson says the incident appears to involve members of a family and that there is no ongoing threat to the community. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
In case you were wondering, the cheapest tickets for this year's World Series are anything but cheap. SeatGeek reporting the cheapest of the cheap seats are going anywhere from $1,100 to $1,400, depending on the game. Crane Chicago Business reporting that Chicago's deputy mayor for education is stepping aside. Jen Johnson claims she will be on leave for the next several weeks to focus on her health and family. Johnson, you may recall, was formerly the chief of staff at the Chicago Teachers Union. And opening statements resumed today in the racketeering trial of former Illinois House Speaker, Democrat Michael Madigan, and Prosecutors say Madigan used his status to betray the public trust. Blackhawks try to get back in the win column when they host Vancouver at the UC tonight. The News is a service of Norton 360. Boost your online security with Norton 360. As PC Mag's most awarded security brand, Norton blocked over 219 million threats last year. Stay ahead of cyber threats with Norton 360. Get up to 58% off at norton.com/secure. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The lineup for Freedom Summit Chicago 2024 just got bigger with the addition of Dinesh D'Souza. He joins Dr. Sebastian Gorka and economist Steve Moore, along with Dan Proft, Amy Jacobson, Sean Thompson, John Anthony, Jeannie Ives, and many more. This event will sell out, so get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com. That's freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Aid for Women, Best Dental Group of Bartlett, and by the Michael Alfaro Radio Show.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
It's really quite extraordinary, and I'm 68 years old, and I've always been very, very active. My weight is a very good weight. I take care of my home all by myself. I have an acre of land. I'm so sold on this product, I can't tell you.
We love the Balance of Nature. Has been amazing. I keep seeing the ad for it. I'm like, you know what? It wouldn't hurt to have more fiber. I don't know. We just feel better.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer. And for a limited time, get 35% off your first order with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
You know, the big wireless companies want you to overpay for data that you don't need, but you don't have to settle for that with Pure Talk. Well, you get to choose how much data that you actually want. And for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk, unlimited text. You're going to get mobile hotspot, 5 gigs of data. Go with Pure Talk, and you get to choose how much data you actually want. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword save now, and if you do it now, you'll save an additional 50% off your first month from Pure Talk.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
It's 8:37. Let's get a check on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of the Chicago Board of Elections. Early voting in downtown Chicago now open through Election Day, November 5. Go to the Chicago Voting Super Site at 191 North Clark or the board offices at 69 West Washington. Go to chicagoelections.gov for more information. Eden's on the outbound side. Stop and go outbound between Pratt and Glenview Road. Kennedy at an hour 10. O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange. The Ike has an accident cleared inbound at Laramie. And an accident on the outbound side of the Ike cleared just after Austin. I-55 just reported an accident, left lane block between Weber Road and Joliet Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Partly sunny, breezy, and warm. High near 75. We're not going to rule out a shower today. Partly cloudy and 56 overnight. 55 at O'Hare, 57 Midway, 48 in Joliet, 56 Lakefront. Your next news update, 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. There's sort of a strange moment at a Kamala Harris rally in Wisconsin over the weekend where two apparent UW lacrosse dudes at the rally shouted out their belief in Jesus Christ and garnered this reaction.
Did
you catch that? Christ is King, Jesus is Lord, and the response from Kamala was, "You must be at the wrong rally."
And then people started laughing. A bunch of heathens out there. Mm-hmm.
It's just this is the woman who just cut that video for the Al Smith dinner, talking about how she would never denigrate Catholics or Christians, and she talks about how she prays at night for this and for that, and this is part of her process and routine and so forth. So
she spent her 60th birthday at a church in Georgia saying faith is a verb. She's all over God, and then somebody yells out Christ is King and Jesus is the Lord our Savior. And she says that to them, as if it was trying to be funny, like it was a punchline or something.
So it's interesting and somewhat telling. Related story, particularly Kamala and her deep faith, and her deep commitment to love and inclusion. Like providing taxpayer-funded gender reassignment surgeries for prisoners and illegal immigrants, that sort of commitment.
Mm-hmm.
UN report on violence against women and girls that was put together by the point person for this project, Reem Al-Salem. This report on violence against women and girls in sport. She finds that what was it? 680 at the Olympics, 890. 890 medals were won by men who were identifying as women. In other words, 890 medals were taken away from women. She's calling for sex screening in women's sports now as a result of this. The report says, in a case where the sex of an athlete is unknown or uncertain, a dignified, swift, non-invasive, and accurate sex screening method, such as a cheek swab, or when necessary for exceptional reasons, genetic testing, should be applied to confirm the athlete's sex. It would have avoided, like, the women's boxing debacle at the Paris Games, she argues. But 72 trans-identifying male players competed in women's football in England, up from 50 when the policy review began, for other examples. I mean, she goes through all of the sort of aggregate numbers of the incursion of men into women's sports and what that has wrought. Because the way this gets reported and the way that we talk about it is the high-profile case. It's Leah Thomas, and then it's the volleyball player at San Jose State, and so on and so forth. But when you start to look at, as she said, 600 female athletes losing 890 medals in 29 different sports, it starts to be more than something that is occurring on the margins, as they would have you believe. As Kamala said in response to Trump's ad on her position in promotion of taxpayer funding of trans surgeries, generally speaking, and specifically to prisoners and illegal immigrants. I mean, it's all just very telling about the significant cultural, not that Trump is not C.S. Lewis, but the significant cultural divide between the two parties that overlays all the discussion of border security and prices at the grocery store and so forth. For more on all of this, we're pleased to be joined again by Spencer Klavan. Spencer is a scholar, writer, podcaster, and author of The Light of the Mind, Light of the World, How New Science is Illuminating Ancient Truths About God. Spencer, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
What about that moment? I mean, I don't want to make too much of it, but it was just an interesting knee-jerk reaction. And sometimes knee-jerk reactions tell you a lot. You're at the wrong rally because you shout out Christ is King, Jesus is the Lord.
Yeah, I think knee-jerk is exactly what it was. And that actually, to me, is why it's so telling. If she had been making an argument or thinking that through, that would be one thing. But the fact that she just instantly jumps to, I got the sense she felt like these were, those evil Christian nationalists I've heard so much about, right? She just links strong, direct professions of Christian faith. In her mind, that means fascism, that means January 6th, that means insurrection, that means all the big nasties. And it's telling not just about Kamala Harris and who she is, but I actually think it stands in for a kind of assumption that has really set in very widely in our culture. I think we all kind of grew up with it, that faith, especially strong faith and proud faith, is a kind of backwards superstition. You can only be passionately religious if you've shelved your rational mind, if you just don't think through things and you act on pure instinct. And that's kind of actually what my book is about. You know, you mentioned light of the mind, light of the world. It's the sort of story of how that assumption set in, how science went from a religious enterprise, the project of knowing God's universe and using our gift of reason to understand creation, and became gradually used to underwrite this totally different idea of the world, that all reality, all truth is anti-religious, and so therefore religious people are just backwards and superstitious. And I think that idea is not only really pernicious, I actually think it's really outdated. I don't think that science supports that idea or ever even has. And that's the case that I'm making in the book. That Kamala Harris and that instinctive reaction she has actually represents old news, something that is soon to pass away as science reveals more about our universe.
Well, you know, the thing about it is people don't want to be challenged. I mean, this is part of the walking away from God. People don't want to be challenged. So they accept sort of the things about the expressions of faith that don't challenge anything. So, for example, Kamala making references to prayer. Oh, isn't that nice? And that's fine. But going to the Al Smith dinner is something that she decided she didn't want to do because she didn't want to offend any of her anti-Christian base because of the view, because of Catholic teaching on issues like abortion. So anything that challenges people to a certain understanding of the world, to a certain understanding of their rights and responsibilities, to a certain moral code, that's where you got to draw the line, and you got to throw those Christians out of your rally.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned Donald Trump's no C.S. Lewis, but the actual C.S. Lewis, who was C.S. Lewis, said that people are always fine with an amorphous universal figure, right? Everybody loves the midichlorians, you creating the Force and enabling the Jedi to tap into some source of power throughout the universe, which is basically what this mouthing off amounts to, what this lip service that people pay to religion amounts to. But then, says Lewis, a real God, a God active in the world, that we simply cannot abide, because that's something we have to factor into our lives and react to. And I think that this is something we have gotten really used to. We've gotten used to talking about God as an abstraction and not as a reality of the world. And that can work for a while. You can get away with that for a while. But eventually you start to make no sense at all, because without God, almost nothing makes sense. The universe doesn't make sense. Science doesn't make sense. Morality kind of becomes a mere game of will, or just whatever you want to make it. Men can become women. And you start to see ostensibly very smart people making extremely stupid arguments and saying things that we know don't hold together. And one of the things we're living through in this election, and more broadly, I think in our lifetimes, is the collapse of that idea that you can make sense of the world without really factoring in God as a major reality, even a central fact of your reasoning.
Yeah, all of a sudden, you got 600 men taking 900 medals away from girls, as that UN report documented, and what can you do about it? It's really interesting, and that's why I point to that trans ad that Trump did, Kamala doing the interview with a man pretending to be a woman, where she commits to taxpayer-funded gender reassignment surgeries for prisoners. It's interesting to me that's the ad that has seemed to get the most play. It's generated the most controversy, and that speaks to I'm surmising, I think, something that is visceral. Like, this stuff is gone. I try to be respectful of everybody, but this stuff is so far over the edge. This has to stop. That's the sense I get. The reaction is.
Yeah, the manifest ridiculousness of it is just offensive to the sensibilities, not of anybody that's hateful. Nobody's sitting around rubbing their hands together, thinking, I want to steal rights from the glorious trans unicorns out there. We're just trying to live in the world as it actually is. And it's funny, that ad, I've heard a lot about that ad, that Trump ran to she's for they, them, Trump's for you.
Yeah.
And I had heard about it, but I actually just saw it on Sunday. I was watching the football game, and I saw that ad for the first time myself. And it was such a stark contrast with the other ad that ran during that game, which was the Kamala ad, that doesn't feature Kamala Harris at all. She comes on at the beginning and she says, I support this message. And then it's basically the movie phone guy doing a voiceover about how Trump is going to make Project 2025 happen and ban abortions nationwide and all this stuff that was kind of copy-pasted off of Facebook, some meme she saw. This campaign is really flailing. And it's flailing because Kamala Harris doesn't stand for anything. She's never had an original idea in her life. She's been elevated to this position on the basis of pure expediency, desperation after it became impossible to deny the reality of Biden's gradual senescence. It then became necessary to insist on another absurdity, which is that Kamala Harris is this joyful, brilliant, sharp prosecutor. And that, too, is obviously untrue. And so this party is just kind of at a loss because they keep demanding that we agree to things that are flatly false. And the men can become women thing is kind of the classic example of this. It's like the party demands that 2 + 2 should equal 5, and you have to say it. And if you don't say it, we'll persecute you, we'll hound you, we'll call you names. And I just think that is kind of falling apart from under them as we watch.
Well, also, too, I don't know what our campaign is doing. I mean, Trump won the news cycle this past weekend with the Al Smith dinner. Then he went and worked the McDonald's. Then he went to a football game. Then he went to a barber shop. She could be doing all those things, but for some reason, she had it was her birthday. Celebrate me some more. I turned 60, and she had a big celebrity party. But she's not relating to the average American.
Yeah, she had the wonder of Stevie, right? Stevie Wonder kind of singing her happy birthday song, which, I mean, no shade on Stevie Wonder. I love his music, but he's also getting up there, and it was not a great performance. You're right. She could be doing retail politics the way that Trump is, but there's one problem, which is he's really, really good at it, and she's really, really bad at it. And she's bad at it because she's not actually ever saying what's on her mind. She's sort of trying. She's so constructed to within an inch of her life that she can't speak spontaneously. She can't do all this stuff that Trump does, not just at McDonald's, but visiting the hurricane victims earlier on, which is something that the Biden administration and Harris, as part of that, is very uncomfortable kind of maneuvering around that disaster and just showing some sort of natural human feeling for it. Trump's in his element here. This is Trump's major strength. Whatever else you think of him, however you felt about his debate performance, if those are the places where his supporters start to get a little bit on edge, this is the place where he is just unparalleled in his skills. And I think it's because he likes people and he likes the American people, and he's just good at dealing with them for that reason.
Spencer Clavin, scholar, writer, podcaster, author of Light of the Mind, Light of the World, How New Science is Illuminating Ancient Truths About God. Light of the Mind, Light of the World, Spencer Clavin. Spencer, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. It's a pleasure having you. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
As a local business owner, you get called every week by marketing companies. We get it. We have hundreds of satisfied customers. Here's what a satisfied client recently said.
Open enrollment is going great. We're hitting record numbers. Thank you so much for this report. It really is amazing to see how the marketing is really shaping our enrollment around the city.
If you're a local business and ready for the next step, visit surroundchicago.com right now. Our experts are ready to help you take your marketing to the next level. Visit surroundchicago.com today.
Hi, this is Carl Amari.
I'm Lisa Wolf. Join us every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. for all things entertainment on Hollywood 360.
If you love classic radio shows, The Shadow, Jack Benny, The Lone Ranger, Dragnet, Gunsmoke, and many more, we have them for you on Hollywood 360.
We'll also present trivia contests with prizes, showbiz news, celebrity interviews, games, and movie reviews.
So don't miss Hollywood 360 every Saturday night beginning at 8 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Paul Jenkins, owner of Bancroft Architects and Engineers, a service-disabled veteran-owned small business providing design solutions for clients, including the VA. When looking for a trusted banking partner, Bancroft was lucky to find that partner in Signature Bank in 2015. With Signature, personal service goes beyond a login and a PIN number. My staff and I have the comfort of knowing that we're dealing with real people who know our business and care about us as individuals. Signature helped finance our new state-of-the-art facility, and Bancroft looks forward to further expanding business opportunities for disabled veterans and historically disadvantaged communities.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Listen up. I'm talking to those of you who wake up day after day with joint pain in your knees, maybe your shoulder, ouch, maybe your hips. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and let's talk about real, lasting relief. People here in Chicago are reducing the inflammation, getting mobility back, getting their lives back. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in cellular therapies. What's that? QC Kinetics uses your own body's healing properties in those achy joints. Cutting-edge treatments that require no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. You know, the choice is yours. You could continue with the steroids and daily medications, pursue surgery and a long recovery, or you could see if you're a candidate for regenerative treatments. Find out with your free consultation at QC Kinetics. New locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. Saturday appointments available. You've got nothing to lose. Do it. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Does your advisor share your values? With the United States more polarized than ever before, shouldn't you invest your time and money with patriotic Americans who have a similar vision for success? DovetailWP.com. At Dovetail Wealth Partners, we focus our practice on helping people who support the United States Constitution and believe in the greatness of our republic. We don't think any American should rely on the U.S. government to take care of them, so we show our clients how to invest wisely and generate tax-efficient income for their retirement. DovetailWP.com. Dovetail works with accredited investors, small business owners, and other successful professionals to build customized portfolios, create bulletproof financial plans, and integrate multiple financial services that allows our clients to live stress-free throughout their retirement years. Please visit our website at dovetailwp.com to find out how Dovetail can simplify your success.
AM 560, The Answer.
You want to hear it before and after? Kamala
Sure.
Now and Then?
Oh, I love these. Yes.
Another classic Kamala. Kamala
rip.
Now on Gen Z.
I'll tell you, and I know this is a controversial topic for many of us, I love Gen Z. Because we have Gen Zs in our lives. We have kids who are Gen Zs. It can be complicated, I know.
Kids. You don't know what
I love Gen Z.
What
Kamala a few years ago on Gen Z.
And it's a specific phase of life. Remember, age is more than a chronological fact. What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. That is why we put them in dormitories, and they have a resident assistant. They make really bad decisions.
Some 60-year-olds do the same.
Yeah, I played that for my boys. It's 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
He keeps trying to sway people who traditionally vote Democrat. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Former President